The story begins on a dark and lonely night, where there is a boy who runs away from his father. His father called him several times to come back, or else he would kill him if he caught him. With his small body, he didn't have much strength and energy, so the boy stopped at one point to catch his breath. But while doing so, blood dripped from his nose, making him cover his nose. While looking at the sky, he thought that when he was young, he was told that if he wished for a shooting star, his wish would come true. But with the way things were now and how unfair it felt, he thought of it as a lie. There are millions of stars out there, but none of her wishes come true, and nothing ever changes for her. While he was busy thinking, his father finally managed to reach him, grabbed his hair, and mercilessly beat him. While beating his son, who was already seriously injured, the man threatened him by asking whether the boy wanted to be killed like his mother, who died outside. But when he was being beaten by his father, suddenly the boy saw something falling from the sky and crashing near the record, and he thought that it was a shooting star. The vibrations from the shooting star's fall were so intense that they both fell to the ground. The boy wondered about what had just fallen. He stood up and ran towards her quickly, thinking as a child he was told by adults that if he wished on a falling star, his wish would come, and it would come true. The boy once laughed at those who believed that, but in reality, it happened. Just in a different way. He saw some dice fall in front of his feet, so he picked them up as he saw in front of him there were thousands of dice falling there. That's how his journey began. In another place, a dice is shown that is rolled and shows the number 6. A person who has the number 6 will be reborn and will become a leader, rich man, or popular idol. In this situation, many people are shown lining up and seeming to be waiting in line for them to do something. The boy from before still didn't understand where he was, and he wondered about where he was, and what was happening in this place. Another man who was there explained that this was a place where those who had died and those who rolled the dice would be reborn, where the number obtained would determine someone's next life, and they were called the challengers. The next challenger, namely the previous boy, started throwing the dice and got the number 1. Everyone around started whispering as number 1. It meant bad luck, and he would live a life full of misfortune. The boy wondered what their words meant, and what life he would lead by getting the number 1. Number 1 explained his life, which would get the lowest status, starting from looks, luck, charm, intelligence, and others. The people there pitied his misfortune in getting a 1, and prayed that the boy's life would not be as bad as expected. After that, the boy seemed to be absorbed into a dimensional hole, where he started his new life, which was not easy, making him wish that he would be born again. At a school, there is a boy named Dongtae, who is lamenting his unfortunate fate, and doesn't even like his name. At school, Dongtae was beaten and humiliated by his school friends, just because he didn't bring the coffee the man asked for. He should have bought coffee with milk instead of coffee milk, and therefore the man doused Dongtae's body with the coffee milk. In this situation, Dongtae thinks, after living as Dongtae for more than 17 years, a big question arises in his head about whether he has lost all hope, and whether there is still hope if he tries to change. After thinking that, Dongtae stood up and left the place, and while doing that, he saw Unju, the most beautiful girl in school. When Dongtae looked at Unju, without realizing it, Unju also happened to look at him, causing him to hide behind the wall. Dongtae felt jealous and sad because he, with his pathetic self like this, would not be able and impossible to become Unju's boyfriend. But when Dongtae was lamenting his fate, he saw someone passing him wearing a dice hanger. Dongtae was confused because this was the first time he saw a guy like that at the school. On the other hand, before class starts, Dongtae will go out to carry out the orders of the students who bully him. When Unju tells him that a teacher is coming and he can't leave the classroom, he gets nervous and asks her if she wants him to buy her something too. This made Dongtae embarrassed because he thought he could talk to the most beautiful girl in school. But when he returned to class, he saw the teacher introducing a new student named Tabin. He was a famous person and often appeared on TV. Seeing that, Dongtae remembered that Tabin was the student he had seen yesterday, and it was no surprise why he seemed to have seen him before. But after Dongtae sat back in class, the teacher made Tabin sit next to Dongtae, and Dongtae felt inferior because he sat next to a popular idol. In a short time, Tabin has become so popular and covered up the misfortune experienced by Dongtae. At other times he is good at sports and studying. Especially shortly he has become friends with Unju, someone who Dongtae likes, so it is difficult for Dongtae to see this. One day he was beaten up by some guys who were upset because Dongtae couldn't do his job as a shuttle properly. When he entered the classroom, he saw Taebin, who was playing a game. Taebin asked if he was okay, but Dongtae answered rudely. After a while, he apologized and said he just wished his life would be different and more beautiful like Taebin's. Taebin tells him that he can change Dongtae's life as much as he can, and then offers him a game of dice. In this situation, Dongtae remembers that his life was doomed to failure from the very beginning, just like a character in a game that was created based on a bad fall of a dice. Dongtae feels destined to fail because the winner takes it all. Dongtae asks what he is talking about. Taebin says just because he is ugly, it is not fair he is treated like a slave. What if Dongtae becomes tall, handsome, and popular? Dongtae asks if that's possible. Taebin answered that it would happen if Dongtae believed. Currently, Dongtae thinks that Taebin is different from everyone else, and will decide to believe him. But at the same time Unju enters the classroom, Dongtae thinks Taebin is waiting for Unju, so he got jealous and ran away from there. After Dongtae ran away, Taebin received a notification that his quest had failed, but he could compensate with another quest donation, and that was by making Unju his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Dongtae comes home and thinks too much about Unju and Taebin's relationship. When Dongtae is about to take a shower, he looks at his reflection and thinks how ugly he is. Even in his bed, he thought about himself and that he couldn't change, and he decided not to believe Taebin's words to him. The next day at school, he walked down the stairs. When he saw Unju, Unju asked if Dongtae was okay yesterday. Because he bruised his face, he asked if Taebin hurt him. Dongtae gets nervous and says he doesn't have a problem with Taebin and just tripped yesterday and he's fine now. When Dongtae was about to ask him if Unju had become Taebin's girlfriend, the other students shouted about Taebin and the bullies going to fight, so he ran there too while thinking about what was wrong with Taebin and how could he fight with the bullies. Everyone runs towards the roof to see the fight between the bully and Taebin. A man doesn't let anyone go upstairs as the bullies forbid them to do. Unju was worried about Taebin because he didn't want him to go out alone. Seeing Unju worried that Dongtae said he would go there and get beaten up was nothing new to her. When he opens the door, he sees Taebin has defeated the bully and his son. He tries to get up, but Taebin kicks him and tells him to stay still. Dongtae asks him to stop hurting them because they can't get up anymore. Taebin says that it's unfair to start a fight just because he's a bully, so he deserves it. Without realizing it, Taebin gets a previous quest success message, leaving Dongtae wondering if he never thought that his life could be better if it was a game. When Taebin came down, everyone gathered around him and praised him for teaching those bullies a lesson. There, Dongtae becomes gloomy and says he will never be like him, and no one bats an eye at his brave attempt to climb onto the roof alone to check on Taebin. After school, when Taebin and Unju were leaving, he spied on them, but Unju went alone to the bus station because he had to go home early while Taebin said he was going somewhere else. Dongtae, who was curious, subconsciously decided to follow Taebin to see whether he was really going home or going somewhere else. Taebin entered a large building and went to the roof. Dongtae chased him and kept watching him from the crack of the door. He notices that Taebin got the text, and after that he gets angry. Suddenly the cell phone rang, and it was a cute message from a student. He thanked God that Taebin didn't hear it. After that he heard a strange sound and saw a flash. He wondered what it was. At the same time the door opened, and Taebin even came out of it. Taebin saw Dongtae there. Dongtae ran from there as fast as he could and stopped when he got home. Her phone started ringing and she got a message as if someone saw her and was talking to her. He asked who it was, and another message appeared and told him that it was because of the dice he brought with him. Dongtae got the dice from the previous stairs. When the flash happened, Taebin came and asked for the dice. But there Dongtae ran away from there and didn't want to give it to Taebin. For some reason at that time, Dongtae's instincts told him to move and run. But even though Dongtae tried to run as hard as he could, Taebin managed to catch him after waiting at the exit and asked again to give him the dice in his hand. But it slipped out of Dongtae's hand, and the color turned bright red. After that, he got his first message that he had become a dice player. And that's where the game that will change Dongtae's life begins. Dongtae asks how X can see it through his phone, to which he says X can see everything around the dice. Dongtae asks if X is some kind of god. X replied, and asked him to open his encyclopedia book page 351 line 14. When Dongtae opened it, it said that God does not play dice. X tells him that he is like a game master. When Dongtae plays the game, he completes the quest and gets rewards. It gives the player a feeling of accomplishment, and more than that, the player can level up as much as they want. Real-life a dice player can make his life better as he wishes by achieving whatever he wants by playing. When players complete a quest, they will find blue dice. When a player rolls it to red and his number from the dice is determined, that player can add abilities according to the number obtained from the dice. Their X shows an old photo of Taebin, and Dongtae is shocked to see the reality because it is very ugly, and there is no way Taebin used to be that ugly. But because of that, in the end, Dongtae thought of becoming cooler than Taebin and decided to use it, becoming a dice player. On the weekend, Dongtae got 3 quests by completing simple quests and homework. And on Monday, when he entered class, he looked different, and everyone stared at him, surprising everyone, because Dongtae now looked taller and had a more attractive appearance. Everyone entering the class whispered about Dongtae after seeing him undergo a very obvious change. Even the man who used to bully her looked afraid. His classmates asked him about what he did to increase his height on weekends. Dongtae didn't answer their questions, and he thought they weren't as big as he thought. Before, he wanted to defeat them, but he couldn't because he used all his dice to increase his appearance stat instead of increasing his strength. Here, the class bully ordered him to bring food, and Dongtae realized that his current abilities were still weak, and therefore he ran to the shop. He brought bread and gave it to his class bully, telling him he no longer needed to serve him, and someone else would do it all. From then on, his classmates gathered around him and asked him how he got so tall. Currently, Dongtae, although confused, likes the attention he gets, making the girls in his class ask for his phone number. Eunju and Taebin entered class together. Eunju was very surprised to see Dongtae's change. Eunju took his hand in excitement and congratulated him. But here Taebin wrapped his arms around Eunju's neck and told Dongtae that they were now officially dating. Now he asks if he won't congratulate them. Dongtae was shocked to see this. Hearing the news of them dating, Dongtae felt like someone stabbed his heart and killed him, or someone pushed him into a deep well and he fell into it. When he first felt proud of himself, at that moment, he felt he was in darkness. He felt that, because of the dice, what he finally felt was that he managed to get out of his mouse hole and managed to touch the clouds. But at this moment, he didn't understand what he was feeling. Dongtae sits on the steps of the playground, and he hears Taebin sharing details of his dating life with other students, and he feels jealous. In anger, he took out his cell phone and called X, asking him why he was so upset answering him. Dongtae says he needs more dice. X said he was busy right now, so he couldn't give him any quest. In this situation, Dongtae remembered the moment why he liked Eunju so much. But after that, what he saw was Taebin and Eunju making love. Dongtae immediately ran from there while remembering the moment that made his heart hurt, and on the way, he accidentally ran into a fat female student while running blindly. He stopped at some point due to exhaustion, and a girl asked him what he was doing there. Dongtae says he wants some fresh air. She asks him how he became so cool. Suddenly at the same time, his cell phone rang because there was a notification, and X gave him several quests, including praising and dating the girl in front of him at the moment. Dongtae was surprised because he didn't know how to do that. Dongtae wonders if he can complete the quest because he has never dated anyone. Dongtae thinks if he touches her chest, he will be sent to prison. But he can compliment the girl, so that way Dongtae calls her beautiful. At that time, the girl smiled and called him cute. Dongtae ran away from there embarrassed, but after that, he got 5 dice. He complained that the search was hard. X tells him that more difficult quests have greater prices. He realized that Taebin was probably doing the quest as he called it. After that, Dongtae called Taebin to meet him on the roof to talk. He asked him if he was going out with Eunju. Taebin replied that it seemed like they were pretending that they were dating. Dongtae asks if she likes him, or if she is dating him just to complete the quest. Taebin said it was a matter between him and Eunju, and Dongtae didn't need to worry about this. Dongtae says she lied to him and it will hurt him. But Dongtae realizes that he also did the same thing and runs away from there. Eunju saw him and called him, but Dongtae didn't stop at all. Dongtae says he will play the quest and will get more dice to be cooler than Taebin, and he will make Eunju like him. Back at school, there was a new mission for Dongtae, where that time he sneaked into the school and went to the gym, stole girl number 12's clothes, and washed them, because this was his newest quest, so he couldn't help but do it. Dongtae also got a quest to mark all the pages of the books he borrowed from the library. He tears out a copybook page too, and wink at a girl who he doesn't know. To complete the quest, he completed all the stupid quests in it in a week. He does everything to get maximum dice. He started to change his grades, started to improve, and other students started to give him attention. He has improved a lot of personality with the help of dice. Even though Dongtae felt like he was above the clouds, he still felt like the two of them, Taebin and Unju, never paid attention to him at all. One day, some girls shared their opinions about Dongtae in his dating life. One of them asked Unju to share her thoughts too, but she didn't say anything. At night, after school, he saw some bullies starting to bully a student who had taken Dongtae's place named Byung-cheol. Here, Dongtae feels sad for him because he was where he was a few weeks before. He asks them to stop harassing him, then he defeats them all, and is happy because his strength has increased well. Here Dongtae gives Byung-cheol his glasses back, and Byung-cheol is still processing what happened. Suddenly Byung-cheol slaps Dongtae's hand, and his glasses fall. Byung-cheol is angry because it all happened. After all, Dongtae suddenly became popular, and now he has become everyone's victim in Dongtae's place. Dongtae calls him and says he will take the 2 idol posters that Byung-cheol has, then he throws a dice at him. Dongtae was happy after helping Byung-cheol because he knew what it was like to be a bread shuttle. The next day in class, he asked a fellow student if Byung-cheol hadn't come yet. Dongtae thought he would come in with a different look and would say it was him, but Byung-cheol entered the classroom with the same look. Dongtae thinks he doesn't use dice because he doesn't know how to use them. Here, a bully in class took his book and threw it on the floor. Then he pulled his hair, saying that Byung-cheol had gray hair and they had to be pulled. Byung-cheol asked her to stop, but she again tried to pull her hair, so Byung-cheol pushed her so hard that she slammed into the wall and then fell. Here Byung-cheol sees Dongtae and thanks him for giving him the dice. Byung-cheol feels great, like he doesn't have to follow orders from other people anymore. He tells Dongtae that he is a true friend. His classmate calls Byung-cheol, who leaves the classroom and says what he did with Hyunjo, a bully he just knocked out. Byung-cheol turns around and says he got it for bullying him earlier. He moves forward to hit him too, but Dongtae gets in between them and tells him to calm down. Byung-cheol asks if Dongtae wants to choose to fight with him too, and there is a misunderstanding here. Before things ended badly, at the same time the teacher entered the classroom. Byung-cheol runs away from there. Dongtae tries to chase him, but Taebin grabs his hand and asks if he gave the dice to Byung-cheol. Dongtae says he didn't give Byung-cheol any dice for doing this. Taebin asks if he is trying to do charity work by giving away the dice he stole. Dongtae frees his arm and says he became a dice player the same way. Then he runs after Byung-cheol, who he finds sitting in the school lab. Dongtae asks how he got so much power in one night. He replies that Dongtae doesn't know anything about dice. That's why he uses it on his appearance. If someone uses dice on a certain part of the body, the strength of that part will experience a tremendous increase, said Dongtae. He might lose this body's balance, but Byung-cheol wondered if anyone could raise his skills to the limit, gaining unusual human skills. Byung-cheol said he asked X to gain psychic powers, but suddenly started running. A student found them there and alerted the teacher to their whereabouts. After that, Byung-cheol was taken away by the teacher and suspended for 3 days. On the way home, Dongtae thought he wanted to help Byung-cheol but didn't want to end things like this. He was worried that Unju must be thinking about him. There, Dongtae sent a message to Byung-cheol that he would keep, giving him homework and requesting him not to do anything dangerous, while Byung-cheol was busy using the computer, thinking he could do whatever he wanted with the help of dice. Dongtae is waiting for a reply, but he gets a text from X instead. He asks why he looks so sad while he is happy when he gets texts from the girls. Dongtae asks him if Byung-cheol could have psychic powers. X replies players can do whatever they want as long as they don't break the rules. Taebin, on the other hand, decides to visit Byung-cheol, saying he wants to talk privately. A year ago, Taebin's past was shown, which he never liked. It was seen that he could not change his life as it was destined for him. He wanted dead and reached the edge of the building. He was tired of being bullied every day at school. He thought about what would happen if he jumped from here. Only his skills would be unlocked, but there would be no more pain. But then he gave in to his desire to commit suicide. Suddenly, someone asked if she wanted to die. She should give her life to him. Her feet slipped and she fell from there. But the man grabbed her hand and pulled her up, telling her that she had died today, and she was reborn today too. She said happy birthday, and gave her a dice. On the other hand, at Byung-cheol's place, which is a quiet place where no one is there, his place makes him leave his phone at home, so X can't see them here together. Byung-cheol asked Taebin his full power, but he avoided it. Taebin kicked him and threw him away. Byung-cheol says his doubts are correct, as he is also a dice player. He asked how far had his skills improved. Byung-cheol asked Taebin if he had supernatural powers. Taebin makes fun of him and says that he's been reading too many comics lately, adding that if there was a power like that, he wouldn't want it. Byung-cheol says he can bet that Taebin has supernatural powers, and he attacks him again. On the other hand, Dongtae is searching for dice on the internet. He knows all about the prizes and the old days when it was a board game, where if you got a good number you would have a happy life, and if the number was low, your life would be terrible. He thought it was kinda similar to the dream he had of rebirth, where God was there taking on a character for him based on his number. On the other hand, Taebin dumps Byung-cheol during their fight and says he came here to warn him that if he doesn't stop making noise, he'll make sure Byung-cheol won't be able to use his hands to roll the dice again. The next day at school, there was a girl who asked Dongtae if he would have lunch with them. He bought food for himself for the first time, and he saw Byung-cheol outside the school boundaries, so he went to see him. He told Dongtae that he wanted to talk to him after school. After that, Byung-cheol got a quest to sneak into school and start a fire in the classroom, and he smiled when he found the quest. Dongtae was lying on his bed thinking about Byung-cheol's strange behavior. He asks X about it, but he notices his phone is not working properly. Suddenly he got a knock on his door. It was Byung-cheol who came here to show him that his left arm was completely disabled, and then he woke up from his nightmare. He saw his phone buzz, and it was a text from Byung-cheol saying he had a lot to talk to him about tomorrow at school. On the other hand, Byung-cheol goes to school at night. His first quest was completed, and he got a reward. When he entered the classroom, the alarm went off, and he accidentally poured petrol there. His second quest was also completed, and he got the dice. He lit a match as the heat plunged from his hand. Meanwhile, security officers were on their way after hearing the alarm. Byung-cheol collects his last gift and tries to escape but is soon caught by them. He ran towards the roof to hide from the security guards. The security guards discuss where they should go on the roof, or not one of them opens a window to get some fresh air. Byung-cheol is hanging by a pipe outside. At the same time, Dongtae gets a quest to go to school and get rid of the guards and open the restroom window on the top floor. The next morning changed. Dongtae went to school. He remembered that last night he rejected the quest he got in the morning that had disappeared. On the way he saw Unju. He approached her and asked if she went to school early every day. He told her that it was because of choir practice. They both headed to school together. They wondered why there was no teacher at the school gate. They noticed that the students are gathered around something, and Dongtae sees an ambulance standing inside the school. They move forward in the crowd to see there is blood, and they see Byung-cheol dead lying on the ground. They said he came here last night and did a suicide performance at school. Dongtae thought about his quest last night if the window was from the 5th floor women's toilet. Last night after the guard closed the window and left, Byung-cheol tried to get in from there, but his hand slipped and he fell. Now he's dead. Dongtae asks X why Byung-cheol died. He tells her that she did this to herself. Dongtae wonders what Byung-cheol will say to him today about he asks X if it's okay if the dice scatter, as X says this doesn't need to stop. Byung-cheol's funeral was held today after a week of his death. When his parents were told that he had come that night to burn down the classroom, they just left him be. Dongtae is sad because he was responsible for it somehow, as many rumors about his death spread around. A man bumps into her. She looks at Dongtae and then moves forward. Dongtae chases her, but she just disappears. Meanwhile, at school changes because many students change themselves using dice. Dongtae saw Unju chatting with Taebin. Suddenly he comes towards her and sees her. Unju asked if he had free time to talk field. A man gets hit in the head by a ball. The player asks if he can throw the ball at him. The man kicked the ball so hard that it flew and hit the ball's goal so hard that a big bend occurred and shattered it. Meanwhile, Unju took Dongtae to go to Byung-cheol's house to return his school things. They waited outside the door after ringing the bell, but no one opened the door. After a while, his mother appeared from behind and asked who they were. He takes them inside and the house looks messy. His mother thanks them for taking him. He was still in facial denial and couldn't accept that Byung-cheol was gone. She says it's her fault he raised her in such a weak way. Dongtae stands up and says he is not weak. He is sure that there must be another reason behind his death. Deep down, Dongtae regrets that if he had done the quest, he might have been able to save her that night. Mother thanks him for believing in her son. She asks them to stay for dinner. As it was getting late, he suddenly remembered that he had forgotten his groceries on the counter. He asked them to look after the house and went to collect the groceries. Dongtae needed to use the restroom. He opened the bedroom door, but he found that it was Byung-chil's room. Dongtae sees everything is in its place and his mother hasn't touched anything. He wonders what Byung-chil knows about. The dice are given to many people, then the secret will no longer be a secret, and there will be fights between the dice players too. If that happens, the world will belong to the dice players, and they will do whatever they want. After that, Dongtae and Unju return to their house. Dongtae asks him what if he could change anything about him using the ability. Would he like it? Dongtae says he doesn't want to change what he has given him. Unju asks him if he can come see her performance at the competition. After that, they can go to dinner together. She says she already planned it with Taebin. After that, Unju went to her house while Dongtae thought standing there that he couldn't accept himself the way he was from birth. After returning home, he texted Unju if he had reached home safely. She answered instantly, and he became happy. He sent her the next text and again got a reply. Dongtae became even crazier about it. After a while, X brought it while he was hoping for it from Unju. He got disappointed. Dongtae tells X that he said, before if we don't break the rules, he doesn't care what else we do. Then Dongtae asks if Byung-chil's death was because he broke the rules by trying to hack the server. X tells him if someone tries to hack the game, he is stopped. Dongtae thinks about what was written at the end of the copy, that he couldn't understand because of his bad handwriting. The next day at school, he finds out about yesterday's fight that happened on the soccer field. The school campus became more like a guest house, and students did everything to get dice. Some students even bought dice from those who had them. The dice seller told the boy that he had come to the right place. He calculates the value of everything he brought to buy the dice. Then he asks the boy what class he is, to which he replies because he is from class 5. He grabs him and asks why he lied. He previously, that his whole class had those dice, according to one in class 5 had dice, said the boy just wanted to be first and apologized for lying to him. The seller gave him a red die. Said the boy knew that the red die was already owned by someone, he wanted the blue one. The salesman says he has to prove his loyalty before he has to bring a prettier girl to him first. Dongtae worries how he will increase his ranking as the number of dice players has increased his quest. Overlap now, quests disappear early as others complete them earlier. He finally got a new quest. The boy walked mindlessly thinking about the task he was given suddenly. He runs into Unju and his books fall to the ground. He apologizes to Unju and he says he will bring the books for her to the chorus room. On the other hand, Dongtae opened the roof door thinking he was the first to complete the task, but Taebin had gotten there before and he collected the dice. He said that he had to tell him something. Back at Unju, the boy takes his books to the music room. He thanks him and says he has done enough. Before leaving, he tells her that Unju is very beautiful and asks if Unju is a dice player. Dongtae says he doesn't want to be talked to by him about anything Taebin asks him. Taebin tells Dongtae that dice players form groups to take over other dice players, so they should form a group to control them all. Dongtae says he is not interested. Taebin attacks him from behind and says he will control him first. Then Taebin says he has started making lives. New doesn't mean anything either. If Dongtae and Unju find out about this news, they will get the reason why Dongtae has become more handsome and smarter. On the other hand, suddenly Unju tells the boy that he doesn't know anything about dice. The boy is shocked and tells her what dice can do suddenly. He thinks to kidnap her hits in his mind, so he pushes her. She tries to push him away by throwing a book at him. There, Dongtae and Taebin got a new quest, and they guessed that Unju was in trouble. They came there by breaking the door and saw the boy trying to grab Unju. Taebin catches him and beats him, while Dongtae asks Unju if he's okay. As the quest is completed, reward dice appear there. Unju wondered what it was. Unju grabbed the dice and asked if that was the dice in question. The man told him that they were, and he could use the dice for whatever he wanted. Taebin hits him and asks him to shut his mouth. Unju asked Taebin to stop, and asked the boy about how these dice came about. Here he says that they were teleported here. Taebin says he doesn't know anything about dice. Unju asked Dongtae he could be nervous but said the same thing. Unju tells them that he will keep these dice as whoever has them there. X is Hey, who will be another dice player. What the man said he was, that those who had dice had made a group, and they used people like him as their slaves. The boy reported the entire incident to the salesman. Another man was there, said Taebin, and Dongtae were lying because they were both dice players. The boy asked if he could have some dice to give to him. All the information was that the seller gave him 2 red dice, and said when he would reach a higher level he would give him the blue. But another man kicks him and says if he wants the dice he has to fight Dongtae, and must beat him. The regretful guy comes back and tells them all that he was worried that he would be killed if Taebin or Dongtae played dice. There also suddenly a girl called him and asked if he mentioned dice. He said yes. The girl told him that she was interested to know more about this topic. On the other hand, Dongtae is walking on the street when a football bounces near him and moves forward. He catches it using his speed ability and returns it to the kids playing with them, to which the kids get impressed with his speed and ask if he is a hero super who is sitting at home. He thought if he became a top ranker, he would be able to convince Unju that all dice players are not evil, and we can use them for good purposes too. But then he thought he would not wait any longer, and he would tell her. In the morning in class, more students had started to be absent because they were busy in collecting dice. Their many groups and organizations were formed too. Dongtae was nervous to tell her, but he had decided that he would do it at the last hour. But he still hadn't told her that the teacher was giving a lecture about Pandora's box, about how Pandora opened the jar and sadness, death, and greed and evil like this spread across the earth. Dongtae was sleeping, but he opened his eyes when he heard his phone vibrate. He noticed that all the students' phones vibrated at the same time. This time, there was a new quest. Dongtae accepts the quest and he finds out that it is about hurting Unju. He was truly shocked and worried about her being completely oblivious to it. Students in class started whispering about the quest. The salesman was just as happy getting quests as he was getting pleasure, and the two dice did just that. The girls from other classes also look happy because they never liked Unju. Dongtae asks X to stop the quest as he is innocent and should not be involved. X says it's his game, and as long as the others are having fun, he doesn't care what happens. Next, he gives Dongtae another quest to save him until Saturday night. If he can be like that, it will be fun to watch. On the way home, Unju told Taebin about the strange stares at her today at school. Taebin asked Unju to go for a trip tomorrow, but Unju said he had to practice so he couldn't take time off. Taebin says he will go with him. Then the next day, Unju went to school, but all the dice players were also ready to have fun in the quest. Dongtae also goes to school to protect her. The quest starts at sunrise and will end at sunset. All the dice players will try to hurt Unju, but Dongtae will alone protect her. On his way, he saw some students beaten on the ground. Then he saw Taebin with Unju. They went to the auditorium. Not many students came because it was Saturday. They see a dice-playing girl named Mihu, a piano player she is too. After Unju started practicing, it had been 6 hours since the quest started, but nothing had happened. Taebin moved to leave the room, while the seller was watching them, and Taebin tried to open the door, but it was locked. The railing fell on the stage, but luckily Unju wasn't hurt. Turned off the lights. Then Miju, who could see in the darkness, moved forward to attack Unju. Michu grabs Unju from her mouth and warns her to shut her mouth if she doesn't want to get hurt, then she drags her out. Dongtae couldn't see in the dark, and Unju didn't respond to his calls. Dongtae decides to use the dice he has 44 points on, and he uses 10 points to buy his ability to see in the dark. He follows the drag marks and chases after him, but suddenly a man attacked him, but he dodged Taebin. Also, couldn't do anything in the dark. He saw someone from inside the light control room, and he decided to use the dice to teleport himself inside it. He crushed the head of the guy there, and turned on the lights there. But Unju has already been thrown in a room, and Miju tells him that she wants him to tear him up so bad, but he has to take a picture first. She adds that is a quest that dice players do. On the other hand, Dongtae recognizes the guy because he is the same guy from the funeral, but the boy says he has a personal business problem with him. In this situation, Unju looked at the dice in his hand and seemed to intend to use them to save himself in this situation. Taebin came out of Lightroom and saw many dice playing students standing in the auditorium. The salesman welcomed him and said, as if seeing his family for the first time, he should let them play with him. Taebin didn't have enough points to take another skill, so he decided to fight with them. When such a guy attacks Taebin, he dodges and kicks him back. The guy falls to the ground, and so on the others freeze seeing this. He says ready to play. On the other hand, Dongtae asked the guy how he knew him, and if he was also the one who tried to hurt you. The guy says he is interested in him and not in him. He tells Dongtae that he is the same person he beat to protect Byungchil that day. It was embarrassing for him, but he saw Dongtae giving Byungchil something. After that, she dreamed about getting humiliated by him every night. But then she found the dice on the day Byungchil died. The man says he only chose one after now he feels embarrassed. After seeing the true power of the dice, if he had known he would have chosen them all. He runs towards Dongtae and continues to attack him with his feet. Dongtae had a hard time fighting him. He says he has used all the dice to make his legs stronger, And that strong Dongtae is on the mend just like him. In no time, and he has to defeat this guy somehow, who is stronger than him. Both Dongtae and Taeben are busy in battle and far away from each other from Unju. Taeben had defeated most of them, but he had used almost all of his points to recover his stamina during the fight. On the other hand, Unju was locked in the equipment room. She looked at the 3 dice she had and remembered what the boy had told them. He thought whether he should use it or not, but at the same time someone opened the door and entered the room. Dongtae was still dodging attacks, but he couldn't keep doing it. He had to find a breakthrough, so he decided to use his remaining points. Group 2 was outside the hall, waiting for their turn. People were discussing the quest. They said that each of them would get a chance to hurt Unju and take her photo. This way they would all get the reward from the quest. The man behind the mask, if they were dice players, he told them that he was promised to be given dice after this quest. They told him that it was a lie and the red dice he was given or brought from the market, and he was just being taken advantage of. Then a man comes from inside and says it is their turn to fight. As they enter the auditorium, they see everyone beaten up but still take their chances. On the other hand, Dongtae decided to increase his speed to maximum capacity using his points. Then he attacked the opponent's points directly, but it was a scam. He runs on the wall and gets behind her and takes her from there. Meanwhile, Taeben has defeated all of Group 2 as well. The only non-dicer left is the guy who planned to stab him, but he apologizes and throws the knife away. The salesman shouted at him and said he would give him the dice if he stabbed him. And in greed, he stabbed Taeben in the back and he bled. Dongtae takes him away from behind and the man falls to the ground. Dongtae had to look for Unju, so he left, but the guy called him and asked if Unju had dice, but why didn't he use them? At a time when everyone is trying its hard to be a dice player, he asked Dongtae that he himself is a dice player. Then why is he even trying to protect him? Taking the opportunity to get more dice like everyone else, he replies that from the first time he met her, he found Unju to be nice to everyone. Unju also talked to him when people ignored him, and he didn't deserve any brutality. Meanwhile, the person who entered Unju's room was the same person who tried to kidnap her earlier. He entered the room where Unju was, and he told her that he was a dice player, and X wanted to talk to him. Meanwhile, Taeben pushed the kid away who stabbed him in the back. He apologized to Taeben and said it wasn't true on purpose, he just wanted to have the dice. Meanwhile, Unju asks X who he is, answering him, asking why he doesn't use dice. Doesn't he want to change? Back to Taeben's side, whatever the salesman ordered his people to end Taeben because he was weaker. Now Dongtae was calling Unju's name while looking for her in the corridor. And Unju answered by calling his name, but Dongtae's voice was faint. Unju was doubtful that she had heard anything, but the man covered her mouth with his hand and showed her X's message, asking her if she really told him that she didn't want to change. X asks Unju if he is using dice, and asks him to change someone else. He is capable of doing this. X didn't expect this answer. He gave him an ambiguous answer. He got that it was impossible for him to do. X is trying everything to get Unju to become a dice player. Unju asks why X is doing all this. X said it was fun for him to see people doing crazy things that Unju said he would never play dice for. X was angry, and he updated the quest. He placed his location in GPS, and increased prizes to put it in difficult situations that boys use this opportunity and tease him. Meanwhile, Dongtae enters the room and kicks her away. He takes Unju out and runs away, as all the other dice players follow him. He takes her to the roof and closes the door. There, Unju asked if Dongtae was a dice player. Dongtae asks what he's talking about suddenly. Unju asks him to tell him the truth as he won't be surprised. The dice players tried to open the door. Dongtae says he will tell everything except they have to escape from here first. Unju didn't move and asked if he was also trying to trick her into hurting him like the other dice players. Dongtae finally accepts it as it is, admitting to being a dice player, but he wasn't trying to hurt her. He never would. At the same time, the dice player broke down the door. They both got scared. On the other hand, that family group boss was left alone, so he attacked Taeben himself. But Taeben counterattacked him, and he fell on the ground. Taeben was bleeding, but still he walked towards the roof. The dice players pushed Dongtae and Unju to the corner of the roof, and they had nowhere to escape. There's still an hour left in sunset. X suggests Taeben use the remaining points to recover himself, but he refuses. Dongtae thinks if he can hold it until the sun goes down, the quest will be over, but how will he do it? He thought about using his points to buy the jumping ability, but there was a dice player there too. A boy ran towards them holding scissors in his hand. Dongtae tricks him and he falls from the roof. He announces if anyone tries to attack, he will make them regret it. The dice players decided to take pictures first, but X asked them if these pictures looked embarrassing from any angle. Even though the three girls move forward and say, "Let's see how long he can protect her," one of them runs towards Unju and Dongtae while holding scissors, but everyone freezes when Unju asks them to stop. Otherwise, he will jump from the top of this building. He asks them if it is really important for them to get the dice to change themselves. Why can't they be happy with the way things are? The dice players answered that they were not born talented like Unju. Taeben got there too. The girl with the scissors threw it. Taeben and Dongtae tried to stop it, but it hit Unju, and she tripped on the edge of the roof. Dongtae tried to grab his hand and lift it up. He saw that there was a wound on his back visible from his torn clothes, which the girl asked for as a gift when she managed to hurt Unju. But X told him that he was only able to tear her clothes, and the wound was already there. Dongtae wraps his jacket around her. He says what he just did was scary. The quest would end soon, and they would all leave him alone. After that, he just had to hold on a little longer. After that, Taeben and Dongtae formed a temporary alliance to protect Unju, because the quest would end soon. All the dice players attack them all at once, and they fight them together. But when people were about to climb to the roof, there was a mysterious girl who blocked them, so that more raids failed to take place. Finally, time ended, and everyone failed the quest. Suddenly his cell phone rang. Unju asked him what it meant that quest complete the dice appeared on his hand. And unexpectedly, Dongtae received a unique reward in the form of gold dice, something that had never appeared before. Some of the dice players attack Dongtae to get the gold dice. The remaining ones run to attack Unju because he has 3 of his dice. Taeben tried to fight them, even if he was injured. Unju was left alone. They asked where she was hiding the dice, where they surrounded her on all sides, so she couldn't escape. They attacked him like he was prey, and they were predators. When Dongtae saw this, he defeated everyone holding him back and ran towards him in a hurry. The golden dice fell and activated suddenly, showing a strange symbol. He asks them to stop, and suddenly everything freezes and time stops. He wonders who he is. Dongtae reaches for his phone and sees he has 207 seconds left. X tells him that he has gained the time skill by rolling the golden dice. Dongtae can stop time for a minimum of 10 seconds every 1 dice point. If he touches anything, it will be freed from freezing time. Now he is not a dice player, but he is now a ranker. X said he shouldn't waste time by doing answer questions. He even thought that 180 seconds wasn't enough to get Unju out of school, and he couldn't leave Taeben behind either. So he touched Unju and asked her to do as he said. As he goes to end this long day, as he resumes time, they fall on the ground. Dongtae tells them that they can't find him, because the game is over, then they have to give up. The guy attacks him, but he freezes time again, and appears from the other side. The sales guy grabs him and asks someone else to beat him, but he freezes time once again. The man is shocked he was about to fall, but Dongtae catches him. He freezes time and tells everyone that they have the dice because of him, and from now on, he is the one who will make a new group. Unju couldn't believe that Dongtae started all this. He was disappointed by that. Taeben also wonders about Dongtae's plans. Dongtae said the group members would do quests together and he would help them become rankers. He wouldn't force anyone to join, but if someone opposed him, he would consider them his enemy. Some students who don't like Dongtae's idea of equality leave. Dongtae says there are 2 rules for members. They must not disturb non-dice, and they will take responsibility for their own actions. Dongtae knows he has lost Unju, but he will still protect her. Unju thanks him for everything he did today. She asks how he found the dice. He lies, and says it just fell from the sky one day, and that's all it started. Then Dongtae assures him that Taeben had nothing to do with it, after Dongtae leaves them. Taeben asks if he really thinks the dice just came up like that. The next day when he went to class, many students asked him to recruit into his guild. But then a short-haired girl came up to him and said she would spend time with Dongtae this weekend. Dongtae asks him who he is, confused because he has never seen him himself. The girl said she would text him on the weekend. Dongtae wonders how he knows her. A student tells him that she is Mio and she is their classmate. He is also a dice player. Mio used to be fat and pimply. He was a nerd, but he used dice to change his appearance. While taking the class, Dongtae thinks that he should put all his focus into developing the guild now. While walking in the hallway, he saw Unju coming from the other side. Dongtae greeted Unju, but Unju didn't show any response and moved forward. Dongtae is disturbed because of the treatment he got from his colleagues after recent events. He went into the music room to practice, but no one was there practicing with him. Some junior girls saw him from the glass door and decided to treat him badly to get dice from him. They enter the room and say that they have heard he really likes his face every time he looks in the mirror. One of them had a razor in his hand and they wanted to cut his face. Mio passed by the music room and she heard the sound. He goes inside and sees the girls about to hurt Unju. The bully girl asks Mio if she can't see the razor in her hand. Mio became confused and left the room. Outside the room, he felt sorry for not helping Unju. He did so. He went inside again and kicked the girl's arm, and the razor fell from her hand. Mio asks him if he wants more than that. The bully girl understands, and she and her friends leave the room. Mio screams and asks if Unju always likes getting into trouble. Unju thanks him and asks who he is. Mio tells him her name and says he is her classmate. Mio asks Unju what she thinks about Dongtae. She replies that he was just a friend until a few days ago she thought he saved her because it was the quest that Mio said. How could he think so? He said being a dice player is not always bad because no one is born with everything like Unju has. While Unju thinks they are standing, she doesn't have it all. On the other hand, Taebin studies in his room while X urges him to stop worrying about the past and do more fun games. Taebin says he can still make some contrast. He remembers that someone who saved his life called him as Taebin gave his life to him. Meanwhile, outside the school it's raining, and Dongtae doesn't have an umbrella. Suddenly Mio comes there with an umbrella and says they can share it. While walking in the rain, Mio asks Dongtae if he feels uncomfortable sharing an umbrella with her. Dongtae says no. It was just his first time sharing an umbrella with a girl. Dongtae asks Mio when she started using dice. Mio replies that she was also there when Byung-chil died, and she got the dice from there. Mio asks if Dongtae likes Unju. He was shocked and coughed loudly. Dongtae replies that he is just a friend to her. Mio giggles and says Dongtae doesn't know how to lie. Then Mio asks why Dongtae likes him. Dongtae replies that Unju hasn't changed at all. She's so natural that whoever she talks to starts liking her eyes. Dongtae thought that being a dice player was the same as being the superhero that Unju wanted, but he was wrong. Mio says that Dongtae is cool enough. Dongtae thinks they reach the corner of his house. He says goodbye, but before leaving, Dongtae tells him that his guild is like Utopia. After he got home, he looked for it and found Utopia was a place in the middle of nowhere, and he understood the meaning of what it was. The next day at school, a guy asks Dongtae if he recognizes what's in his photo. Dongtae answers who he is, which the man feels is good because he has changed his appearance using dice. He tells him that he is Sungchul, and he sits in front of him. Many people in the class have changed their appearance. Some are working to increase their strength, only Unju is the remaining non-dice player. During break time, Unju came to him and asked for a few minutes to talk. Meanwhile, Mio, who left, took 2 colas back and was surprised to see them together. Mio hides to listen to their conversation. Unju returned Dongtae's jacket. She thanks him for saving him another day and apologizes to him for not talking to her lately. Unju now realizes that he made a mistake to save her. He asks her about the competition. She said it was on this Sunday, but she is not taking part now, as all the other members have left duties. Unju turns to leave, but Dongtae grabs her and realizes that Unju is crying. He asks what happened to him. Unju says that after becoming a dice player, everyone has changed. Even Taebin too, and he doesn't know what to do. During class, all students' phones started ringing suddenly. They got a new quest to run on the ground. Everyone left the class, asked Dongtae to hurry up too, but he told him that he didn't get the quest yet. Everyone ran towards the ground. Only Dongtae, Mio, and Unju were in class. It was strange that Dongtae didn't move because he didn't get any quests unlike the others. Mio asks what he means by not getting any quests, to which Dongtae says he doesn't know. He asks X, and he tells Dongtae that he has to know why he didn't get any quest. Mio runs out and stops Taebin and asks why he got more quests than the others. Why he got a dice quest. Previously, everyone Taebin said he had no reason to answer his question. Meanwhile, Dongtae comes there and tells him that he knows why he didn't get any more quests. On the other hand, students run as fast as they can because only the first 20 winners will get the dice. Dongtae says that if his theory is correct, the contest reflects the true nature of dice players. What if the dice require some kind of odd fuel to be made? He thinks that the reason for not getting any more quests is that he has changed everyone. The student council president announces that Sport Festival Neo asks what he wants to say exactly. Dongtae says he used the dice to get his own dreams, but the closer he gets, the less quests he has to achieve, and now he does not have the desire to change anymore. Dice players beat each other despite the fact that they are classmates and they know each other. Their greed to get more and more dice overcomes their human nature. Hearing about the desire to change takes time. Taeben returns to his past memories that he recalled when he found out the reason that the quest depends on a person's wishes, and he tells about it to Mu Young. Mu Young replies that he thinks it's the same as he said, that a person's desire never goes away, it's just replaced by another. But it always stays there. Taeben asks why he gave the dice to him. Mu Young says that X told him he would change the rules once there were more rankers. He just wanted to know what X wanted, and therefore, he increased the dice player's number. Since that day, he never shared his plans with Taeben. One day, he fought and beat up some dice players who were also rankers. Some of them tried to fight him together, but none of them were able to beat Mu Young. When he was Mu Young's ability, Taeben was scared but couldn't execute one of them. The fighter helped him, but couldn't teleport himself as far as possible because he didn't have enough dice. The fighter also died. Mu Young shares that he can't run away from his fate, and he will be the cause to scatter the dice wherever he goes. Taeben get cold sweat after remembering all that. Dongtae asked if he was okay. He said Taeben was okay and he left from there. Dongtae asks if he knows anything about this theory. He has to share, he just leaves saying that our rankers can't be allies. Dongtae asks Mio if she is in ranker or two. She says she has a mission but hasn't finished it yet, so she hasn't heard the noise and looks down the window and sees the dice players fighting each other. Dongtae and the others looked and wondered what kind of quest it was. It was a girl who beat the crap out of a fellow class. She said she didn't want to be a part of this anymore and tried to leave. He sees Unju there and asks her to save him. All the sounds, Dongtae sees Unju down there and he runs to save her. Unju asks the bully girl to move away, otherwise he will pepper spray her. The teacher sees this and comes there to stop them from fighting. Unju was distracted, and the bully attacked him until the pepper spray fell from his hand. The girl is about to hit him, but Dongtae comes there and pauses the time. He decides to take her away, as he only has 40 seconds, but he notices that someone is moving. Even he stops everything. Dongtae asks who is there because he is sure about seeing someone moving during the time gap. Dongtae looked around but couldn't find anyone. X reminded him that the time had ended, so he grabbed the hand of the disturbing girl who would punch Unju to him. He asked her to leave, so she runs from there. Unju asked him if X really enjoyed that type of game, where the other gets hurt in the chaos. A student hits the teacher, accidentally dunking him, asking them to stop. He asks if they have forgotten the 2 rules he made for them. Teacher was seriously injured. Unju sent a student to call a nurse. Here, Dongtae asks those who will take responsibility for their actions as students to answer to whom. He thought to himself, ordering the others, thinking if they were in revenge, he would kick Dongtae. He got a quest to destroy his guild, and he would become a ranker too. The principal asked everyone about the fight, but no one answered. The gift he gets is the ability to disappear, called cloaking. Elsewhere, Dongtae thinks that he must have seen someone back there. A hooded man. He asks who he is, but instead of answering, he attacks him and he wakes up with a jolt as if it was a dream. It was the weekend and he had 2 important things to do. On the other hand, other students enjoy his ability to cloak everything that is a part of him. So he goes to a public bath to have fun while he is invisible but covered. He steals food from a shop, and the shopkeeper doesn't even notice. Follows a girl and does things who was dirty with her. But he couldn't see her. The girl was wondering why her skirt was lifted suddenly. A car hit her while she was in the middle of the road. The driver came out to see who she hit, but no one showed up. So Higo the student had increased his endurance. That's why he survived this collision. But it was still so painful. His cloaking time ended, and he began to appear to others. Mio enters a cafe and she waits there for Dongtae to come. He was still not sure whether Dongtae would come here or not, but he had to do it to complete the quest. Last night in Mio's room, Mio shouted at X and said she didn't want to do this quest as it was not her desire. X, who said that wish to him was just one kind of ingredient, people just want to be better than other people. Somehow, he made this special quest, but he likes Unju. X asks if he'll be okay just being around her like this. Meanwhile, while sitting in the cafe, he wanted Dongtae to get him here faster. The person who saw the student on the street was the same person whose dice were stolen by him. There he tried to activate his cloaking ability, but it was in cooldown mode. Other people asked if he had the cloaking ability after becoming a ranker. He asked how she knew about that. He says he knows more than Dongtae. The guy took it to the other members. He asks them if they weren't from the Dongtae guild. The guy replies that they will go backstab Dongtae because they have found a new guildmaster who knows more than Dongtae. On the other hand, Dongtae looked for Unju and found her standing in the corner alone. He goes near Unju and asks why the others aren't here. He gets embarrassed and says he doesn't know if they will come. Dongtae comforts her and says the other girls might be late and she shouldn't lose hope. Unju thanks him for this. He asks him to wait here because he will check if they can delay his turn. Meanwhile, another man asks the guildmaster to show him his form, the same boy he usually uses as a shuttle. He was shocked the boy told him that he wasn't his old self anymore. He said that he met a dice player some time ago who knew all the secrets of dice. He shows him a special marked dice. He says that X will immediately change the rules of the game, and this dice will change itself. At that time, there will be a terrible war between dice players until someone builds the highest tower with dice. The man got scared, so he attacked him, but the other guild members stopped him and pushed him back. The kid said that the dice's abilities were far more than the ranks that humans could surpass. He said he would go and use his cloaking powers and run with it. The boy uses his psychokinesis ability and stops her and catches her. The other members beat him up well. It was just their warm-up, and their real target was none other than Dongtae. Dongtae gets a text from Sungchul asking him about his location. Sungchul asks if he's at the competition venue. Dongtae says he is, but how does he know? Sungchul tells him that all the choir members are under arrest and they need help. She calls him and tells him that they had a fight with Class 8's family during the quest, which he took a fake picture of and sent it to Dongtae. He told him the location and asked him to come as soon as possible. He decided to keep them for Unju. He told her that he would take them with him before 1 p.m., so he ran from there. Mio was still waiting for him to come when she got a message from him that he would be late. He gets angry but still replies that it's okay. Someone called him from behind and asked if he could give him more, which made the guildmaster happy that his plan worked. He attacked Mu Young, that Dongtae will be there soon. Mu Young was waiting for his arrival when X told him that he was here. Dongtae reaches the underground tunnel where he feels something strange. Sungchul appeared from behind and took him inside by grabbing his arm. Sungchul left him in the corner and disappeared, which the guildmaster used his ability to catch him inside the iron bars. He also broke his cell phone using his abilities. He was attacked by men. At the restaurant, Mio is called really beautiful, and she is her type. Mio gets that she hunts her down, doesn't say anything, but she gets angry because the guy keeps bothering her. The guildmaster continued to attack by throwing many objects at him using his psychokinetic abilities. According to them that he was dead. Sungchul got his reward with gold dice. They took off the cover. Remembering him, Sungchul died laughing and called him an idiot who fell for their plans so easily. Dongtae appears from the smoke and punches him so hard and throws him away. He sees all the others are frauds and asks why they are doing this. Sungchul threw his golden dice thinking he would defeat him using the new ability. He got the power to fly, but he couldn't escape because he was in the dungeon. Dongtae pulls him up and beats him good. Dongtae thought about Unju's sad face, who was desperate and getting angrier. A man asked him to stop hitting Sungchul, so he moved towards him. The man tries to run, but he takes him to the guildmaster, who throws broken glass at him, but he dodges it. He says that Dongtae doesn't have the dice to activate his ability, so they can all hit him. Dongtae understood that it was him who destroyed his guild and made him a traitor. He ran towards him, avoiding all his attacks and throws. He kicked the cage covering his path until it broke and fell on top of him. But when Dongtae was about to beat him, suddenly a shrill sound came from the speaker. X gave the quest via speaker because Dongtae's cell phone was broken, while Mio was done with that person's cheap talk, so she threw water at him and ran outside while walking outside, and was distracted by the insult by that person. Mio thought that she used to get treatment like this after her face turned beautiful. When she was fat, no one glanced at her. But even then, Unju treated her better and called her beautiful. Mio wondered why he was thinking. On the other hand, X gives him a new quest to complete all those mobs and get a reward of 3 dice for each mob. And that is a deep desire from within Dongtae. Mio returns the movie tickets she booked for herself and Dongtae. Mio buys a ticket for a movie that will be playing. She sits in the cinema and sees a message that Dongtae still hasn't seen. Mio goes back down memory lane as she thinks about the time when she used to study harder, thinking it would make things better for her. Mio cuts off all her social life, but it's even a lie. After entering college, she'll become a fat nerd, and nothing will change. At that time, he met Dongtae, who was also bullied. The others he thought they were the same, but that wasn't true. On the other hand, Dongtae received the quest and grabbed their leader. They all ran towards him to save their guildmaster. But Dongtae threw him towards them. Dongtae defeats them all in his anger. Meanwhile, Mio thought that they were not the same as Dongtae. He was brave even then, and used to stand up for those he loved. But then Dongtae suddenly changed, and at that moment Mio got a 2 on the dice, and her world changed too, because it came to her that she was able to bring change. Meanwhile, Dongtae has defeated all the boys, leaving the chorus girls to apologize from him who is being planned by the guildmaster, another attempt to hurt him from behind. Dongtae asks the girls if they are really choir members, to which they say yes and cry. Dongtae thinks about the promise he made to Unju. He tells X that he gave up on the quest he asked to go to the competition now. One of them said it wouldn't change anything. The choir needed at least 10 members. He punches the wall angrily and says he knows, but he still wants them to do that. The girl says it won't change anything, and that's the reason she always gets betrayed. The guildmaster attacked her, but missed, and ended up hurting the girl. Dongtae catches it and crushes it. The guildmaster suddenly fell, and from his pocket dice, and he looked at it and wondered what it was. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Mio called Dongtae, but his number couldn't be accessed. He went to a restaurant alone and ate food there. Back to Dongtae asking the guildmaster what kind of dice they are. He told Dongtae that he met a guy a few days ago, and he asked them to attack Dongtae. The guildmaster also said that soon, X will change the rules of the game, and there will be a war until someone who can make the highest tower with dice appears. Meanwhile, Mio chooses a card from the card reader, and she gets the tower card. She tells him that it is the highest tower built by humans for God to reach, and its name is Babel. Long ago, humans started building towers for God to reach, but God became angrier and sent lightning to destroy the towers. Card readers say that this card represents sudden change or destruction. Mio asks if this is her future, as the terrible card reader says it has another meaning too. It represents freedom from something one was forced to build. Or it could be like Rapunzel escaping from the tower. Mio thinks she knows what it's all about, and begins to understand the meaning of the cards she got. Back to Dongtae, who asks the guildmaster about the tower building, but he keeps saying he doesn't know. Suddenly someone spoke through the speaker and asked him to let go of the mob. Dongtae leaves, then he introduces himself and says he is Mu Young. It is said that he who builds the highest tower means being a dice player who has divine abilities. Dongtae asked why Mu Young attacked him. He answered that he wanted to check on Dongtae to see how he would react when the rules would change. Mu Young asks him to look at the dice that change every time someone becomes a ranker. He says something amazing. Dongtae was shocked. He ran towards the audio control room to catch Mu Young, but he disappeared from there. When Dongtae got there, Dongtae saw a man fallen on the ground unconscious. Dongtae reaches him and checks if he is breathing normally. Dongtae thinks about what Mu Young told him that they had already met. Then he remembers the time when someone was there moving when he stopped when he called X and asked if it was true what Mu Young told him about dice. X says what he would do if it was all true. Dongtae returns to Unju and apologizes to her for not fulfilling his promise. Meanwhile, Mio is satisfied after spending the whole day alone with so many activities, but she is still angry because Dongtae didn't contact her. However, she thinks Dongtae might be enjoying it with Yunju. Suddenly, a girl falls in front of her. Mio picks her up. The girl tells her that the boy pushed her and called her a fat and ugly pig. Mio punished the boy because she could feel the pain of those words. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Unju tells Dongtae that he doesn't need to be sorry as he already knows nothing will come. He said it was fun before, but not all the other members were busy collecting dice. Dongtae asked if Taebin didn't come too. Unju said that Taebin never wanted to come. Dongtae wonders if he asked her out in the first place. Unju told him that she never asked Taebin out, because she was the one who asked Taebin out on a date with her. Dongtae was shocked after hearing this. He used to think that Unju was a princess who needed to be saved, and he was a soldier who would save her. But now he felt like a dead soldier, so it was Unju who approached Taebin from the start. Unju asked Dongtae to leave Taebin alone. When the dice changed, Taebin's school had to be busy with it. Unju also wished that the dice never existed. Dongtae says he can't go back to his helpless self a few weeks ago. Suddenly, Unju notices blood on Dongtae's shirt and asks him to let her see if he's hurt. Dongtae accidentally hits her, and Unju falls. Dongtae felt sorry. He paused time and walked away from there. He never thought things would turn out like this. And more than that, Mio would be angry with him because he forgot his promise. Dongtae starts wandering the streets, and suddenly he sees Mio sitting on the ground playing with a cat. Dongtae asks him what he is doing here instead of going home. Mio walked up to him and punched him in the stomach. Mio shouted at him that he could at least give her one answer. Dongtae doesn't stand up. He asks her if she really hit him that hard. Dongtae just says sorry, he got something that must have happened. He helps him and asks him to stand up. Dongtae reminds them of their promise that he had to buy him dinner. Dongtae takes her to many shops, but they are all closed. Mio suggests that they can go to her house and she can cook. Dongtae refuses but then allows it. She cooks budezige, wondering how Mio can cook such delicious food at dinner. Dongtae tells her that he got into a fight and his phone broke. Mio asks him about his parents. He says that his mother works and comes back some days, while his father hasn't lived with them since he was in elementary school. It was almost midnight, and Mio wouldn't find a bus home, so she said she would stay here. Dongtae is surprised. He asks if Mio is serious about staying here for one night. Mio asks if there's a problem. Dongtae says no, and Mio goes to the restroom because her heart is about to explode. Likewise Dongtae, because no girl had been to his house for one night, his heart was also beating fast. Mio had never lived in a boy's house before she noticed a strange light coming from Dongtae's clothes. Mio called him to come here to choose that thing. He came inside and saw that the dice were shining and the size was bigger. Dongtae says he forgot to mention it, and then he tells him about what happened in the tunnel. He asks her to forget this and let's have fun. Then they both play a game of dice. Mio tells him that she is glad that dice exist, as she has all this. Therefore, she goes to the fridge to get something to drink and finds a bottle of wine there. When Mio opened it, she spilled it on the floor. They cleaned it with tissue paper, and slowly Mio came close to each other. Mio steps back. Dongtae asks her if she is okay. She says no. Mio adds her past self wants to change completely. She wants to be brave and shine like a star. Mio still doesn't live up to any of that now that Dongtae says she's beautiful and brave. Mio says that's all because Dongtae changed her world. Mio tells him that if his clothes are wet, he will take off his clothes. But Dongtae tells him that he didn't mean to. Dongtae ran to the roof to bring her some laundry for Mio to wear. On the other hand, the girls brought bandages and water for their friends who were beaten by Dongtae earlier. Then Mu Young comes there, and they all wonder who he is. Back to Dongtae starting to close the laundry. When Mio comes there, he grabs his shark boxers and runs away. Dongtae chases him to take it back. Suddenly they both fall like Dongtae falls on him. It was already 5 o'clock. Unju looked at his old photos with his classmates and Taebin. He wonders where Taebin went. On the other hand, Mu Young comes there. The girl asks who is he. Did the game master tell her that he is the one who met her and guided her? Meanwhile, Mio tells Dongtae that she likes him. Dongtae says he likes her too. Then Mio asks if Unju isn't important to him anymore. Dongtae stopped and started thinking. Dongtae didn't answer this question. Mio gets angry, and she pushes Dongtae away and then beats Dongtae well. Mio says he showed his heart, and Dongtae leaves it up to him now how he will repay him. Mio asks Dongtae to take her to the amusement park as the sun rises and she knows it's time to go. Mio ran downstairs and looked at her gold dice that she had obtained by completing the quest. Mio holds it in her hand, but she gets shocked hearing Dongtae's voice, and the dice slips from her hand and is activated. Mio grabbed it again hastily. Dongtae asks what it is when he sees the flash. X saw that another ranker had appeared, so the time to change the rules of the game began. On the other hand, Mu Young grabbed the girl by the throat. While Mio says she will leave, Dongtae goes with her to see him off. Dongtae asks if he could change the world, what he would do. Mio thinks, and says she doesn't know the answer, as the power to change the world is too great to think about. Then Mio runs away to get the bus. When Dongtae came back home, he saw his computer screen was purple. It was a notification from X that the rules of the game had been changed. Dongtae asks what changes have been made, while Mu Young smashes the girl through a wall and then onto the ground and the dice come out of her body. X says the new rules are player versus player. They have to steal each other's dice. All the dice the girl used fell from her body, and she returned to her previous self again. Other people around there started to run away to save themselves. Mu Young starts grabbing the game master and stealing his dice. Dongtae asks why dice players fight to the death. X answered that it was for the supreme gift that would change the world. Mu Young says if he collects 3 more gold dice, he can challenge X again. Unju was sleeping when Taebin texted her to meet up this Sunday. Mio still couldn't understand what her ability was because she could see the details of everything she saw. On Mu Young pausing time, he was looking for Sung Chul because he also had a golden dice with the ability to fly. X asks if he would kill them that quickly. X tells him to have patience to meet her as the fun is just beginning. The update is announced to all the dice players. They are told that if they lose, they will not only lose the dice, they will also lose all their dice upgrades, so the real game begins. Now, there will only be one winner. After that rule update, the environment became very tense, and everyone started considering each other their enemies. As the gloomy face is not clear in the video, most people become cautious and stop coming to school for their safety. Meanwhile, Dongtae noticed that even Mio, Unju, and Taebin didn't come to school. Suddenly the classroom door opened, and Taebin entered the classroom and sat next to Dongtae. Students gathered on the roof, watching the first player versus player match. Dongtae wonders why it feels so strange that he suddenly called him, but Taebin says he doesn't want to talk to him during class. Dongtae still asks him why Unju isn't there. He says he doesn't know. Taebin told him that he and Unju had broken up. The man on the roof gets beaten up by his rival, and the dice fall out of his body. He starts losing the hair he got from using the dice. The students around him start making fun of him. He begs for mercy, but rival is not in the mood to show mercy. Back in class, Dongtae grabs her by her collar, but then she realizes that they are in class. Dongtae asks the teacher for permission to go out because they have some uncertain business. He comes out, but Taebin says he's not interested. But when Dongtae told him that he had met Mu-young, Taebin stands up and agrees to talk them out of school. Taebin tells him that he will only tell him about their relationship if Dongtae beats him. They fight, but if Dongtae gets beaten up, he will tell him about Mu-young. Dongtae agrees. Taebin thinks if he has to beat Mu-young, he has to learn how to deal with time stops. Makes sense because Dongtae is the best to experiment with. He teleports himself and grabs him from behind before he even activates his ability. Dongtae can't benefit from his ability because it won't work as long as Taebin is still touching him. Dongtae smashes Taebin against the wall to get him over himself. After so many tries, Dongtae finally got rid of Taebin, but before he could activate his ability, Taebin again attacked him. He tried to hit him, but Dongtae kicked him and threw him away. Taebin ran towards him again to attack, but he stopped. This time he rests for some time, then he runs to attack him, but Taebin teleports himself. Dongtae wonders how he can move when time stops. Dongtae asks Taebin how he can move when he's stuck in a time gap, but Taebin doesn't answer him. The other was a ranker watching them fight from the roof. He observes that Dongtae has time stop while Taebin has teleportation. He also wondered how teleportation would overcome the lag time. Abilities. Dongtae wonders if Taebin uses other abilities along with teleportation. X gave Taebin a notification that he had used one round of automatic teleportation, which he could avoid attacks automatically within a 2-meter range. Taebin asked Dongtae if he didn't want to know about battle mode. Dongtae was shocked not to know about it, and he couldn't ask X as well as he didn't have a cell phone. He wasn't there. Taebin, who attacked him from behind, used his teleportation and tried to catch him. Dongtae escapes from him and attacks him with a back kick and pushes him away. He again used time break to try to attack him once again, but the result was the same as Taebin escaped Dongtae's attack. Getting him to use time break was just a waste of time, but he didn't know what he should do. Another ranker on the roof asked X about battle mode. X told him that it was a new updated mode, and people who were new to PvP did not know about it. The boy guessed Taebin wasn't a new dice player at all, that there were 2 forms of battle mode. One of them is the shop mode that one uses dice cash to buy a helping of different items. All dice players can use it. Second are the powers and modes that only a ranker can use. In this mode, the dice player can improve his individual skills with dice, and can grow stronger, and the person can create special abilities by using more dice. That the boy understands special concepts and skills. Taebin can cancel attacks automatically in a selected area. Dongtae has an idea, but isn't sure whether it will work or not. On the other hand, it was around noon, but Unju was wandering around in the park instead of going to school. She was doing not knowing what she was doing here, but she clearly didn't want to go to school. She remembered that she met Taebin yesterday when he asked for this meeting. They were sitting in a cafe and he was happy because they met. After a long time, Unju told him that she was afraid of going to school as all the dice players were fighting there. Suddenly, Taebin saw Mu-young in the crowd and was shocked. Unju asked if he was okay. As he looked scared, he answered that he was okay. Taebin tells her not to worry about school. The world is a competitive society, and school is just a small version of it, as there are always victims and always bullies. He asked if Unju also wanted to be a dice player. Unju answered, what if he was already a dice player? Taebin was shocked to hear this answer. Mu-young whispers he has found him. Taebin understands that it's not just his thoughts, but Mu-young is really there, so he suddenly stands up and tells him that they have to leave then. He ran away in a hurry while Unju followed his steps. Unju asked the reason. This strange behavior was finally noticed by Taeben Mu Young. He pushed Unju and asked him to move, but he fell to the ground. Mu Young disappears. He shouts his name and asks where he is. Taeben didn't realize all he asked him who Mu Young was. Unju was scared. Taeben told Unju that their relationship was over, and Taeben is now letting Dongtae try to make him angry by saying that. Taeben knows how far he and Unju are in their relationship, and Dongtae attacks him again, but he teleports back. Dongtae understands how Taeben's abilities work every time he attacks. Meanwhile, Unju has been worried since the day X told him that everyone around him was a dice player and he controlled them. Meanwhile, Dongtae again didn't pause to test his theory, so he lifted a rock and hit Taeben with it, but it didn't hurt him. He gets Taeben's ability to activate automatically when he stops time for him, and he doesn't get any damage from blows while time is paused. Then Dongtae decides to do another test check the distance at which Taeben and the ability activates automatically. He throws a punch at him, and Taeben automatically teleports. Taeben kicks Dongtae and asks if he hasn't given up yet. Dongtae was thankful his dice consumption paid him at least, and now he knew that the dodge skill automatically activated around 2.5 meters. The new boy was also observing Dongtae's plans as to what he was doing. Tells Dongtae it will first pause time, and then he will increase his agility to the maximum attack right before auto-dodge is activated. He will raise the time lag and will hit it. Mr. Dongtae knows that it is the only way. On the other hand, Unju felt thirsty. He saw a snack machine when he was about to insert coins. Another girl was doing it, before he saw that the girl was his school friend, and also a dice player who almost hurt him, Miju. Dongtae pauses time and attacks Taeben according to his strategy, but Taeben teleports in expecting him to try again and again. Taeben tells him that it's useless no matter how many times Dongtae tries. The observer boy said that Dongtae would go on to be the winner because Taeben adjusted to the situation, and he would hesitate when the pattern would break, and then the distance of 2.5 meters would not beat time. And before Taeben could teleport, Dongtae would destroy him. The boy was impressed that Dongtae found the solution so quickly. Taeben gets used to the pattern. Dongtae uses his clothes to distract him and manipulates time to close the distance, but it won't work the second time. Dongtae asked Taeben to stop fighting, but he was angry, so he attacked him again, but Dongtae escaped his attack. Dongtae tells him that fighting is useless. He just wants to know why he was so afraid of the dice spread, and why he broke up with Unju. Dongtae asks if it's because of Mu Young. Taeben is disturbed, and says why Dongtae has the same ability as Mu Young, the time pause ability. Dongtae looked surprised to hear this. On the other hand, the girl asks Unju who she really feels like she's seen her before Unju says it's nothing and walks away from her. Minju calls her from behind and asks if she's not the same girl from the quest. Minju asks if Unju is a dice player too. Unju turns around and says no, he's not a dice player. The girl said he didn't need to run because he wasn't interested in her. She said he had to catch other people or dice players. His phone showed the nearest ranker's location. Unju asks what is in revenge and why he wants to catch them. Minju tells him that a ranker has special abilities. X has changed the rules and the first dice player to get a dice by doing a normal quest, but then the quest starts to combine, but now the dice will be given to those who defeat someone. Unju asked why he needed the dice so much. Minju frowns and says not everyone is born with everything like her. Some bad memories went through Unju's head. After that hearing that Minju said that at first the dice maximized human abilities, then he changed it now to the last dice can change the world. And if he wins, that means he can change the world. Back to Dongtae, he asked how Mu Young could have time pause abilities like him while Mu Young used teleportation that day. Taeben gets worried and says he already has 2 abilities. Dongtae asks why he is so afraid of Mu Young. Taeben says he is the dice player he has known the longest, and he is the only person who gathered all 6 abilities and challenged and fought X. Minju became happy because the location of a ranker was shown too close, and it was getting closer. At the same time, Unju tried to snatch Minju's cell phone as she pleased to talk to. On the other hand, Dongtae asked how it was possible for Mu Young to get all 6 abilities. He asked what happened between Mu Young and Taeben. On the other hand, Unju asked X how he could be with her through his phone. X said he could look around where the dice player was, and he saw him asking for a lentil phone. He said when he asked her about the purpose of dice in the past, she avoided the question he asked if Minju was telling the truth. X answered yes. He said that with the last dice, a person can do whatever he wants. X asked if that wasn't interesting, but he wasn't involved as one had to be a dice player to take part. Minju shouted at the ranker and asked him to appear. Unju asked X if Taeben was one of the dice players. X says he can't answer as it would be against the rules. But suddenly a boy lands on the snack machine, which Minju finds out that the guy is flying. The guy lands on the machine and it breaks. He trips and falls to the ground, which Unju recognizes, and he is Sung-chul from her class. Unju asks if he is okay. Sung-chul looks scared and asks where the hooded guy went. Sung-chul says the guy stole dice from everyone in the guild. He panics and says he can't lose the dice. Minju, he needs dice too and he will get them from her. Sung-chul asked if she was in rank A. Minju laughed hysterically. Sung-chul got the answer that Minju wanted to fight. Sung-chul asks her what her ability is. She runs up to him with a knife in her hand and says he will find him soon. Suddenly, Unju came between them and asked Minju to stop. On the other hand, Taeben tells his story to Dongtae. He tells him that he went to suicide one night thinking it would end all his pain. But Mu Young saved him and told him that he had died and he was reborn at that moment. Soon Mu Young goes to school. One day when Taeben got beaten up by bullies because of a small mistake, Mu Young saved him from them. That's how Mu Young became a special friend to Taeben. Then Taeben changed to using dice too, and made some friends. He thought things would be like this forever. But all good things must come to an end. After a month, Mu Young transferred the number of dice players increased to 7. They all used to meet every night, and discuss various things about dice, but Mu Young was always used to watching everyone quietly instead of participating in the conversation. One night the conversation was about whether the number of dice players should increase or not. Some of them wanted that, but some were against it. Taeben had agreed that by increasing the dice players like that, people could be reborn, and their problems might have been reduced a bit. Their friend who was cooking needed some ingredients. Mu Young said he could go buy it from the shop he wanted to visit with him, but Mu Young asked him to come with Taeben at that time, but no one paid attention to him. Mu Young asks him if he hasn't gotten the quest yet. He replies no, because he doesn't have the desire at that point. He asks Mu Young if it wouldn't be better for other people to have as many dice as possible to change the world into a better place. Mu Young replies that will be a little different. But dice can change the world, but it's impossible to fix Twisted World. On the other hand, Unju asks Miju to stay away. Unju says she won't, and she can't let that fight happen. She tells them that X is just playing with them. Sung-chul uses this opportunity and uses his abilities to get away from the lentils. Miju grabbed Unju and threw him away. X makes fun of him, but Unju says he will definitely stop him. Miju didn't want to let it go, so she bought a barrier facility and activated it. Meanwhile, Taeben said that a few days later he also got his quest for Taeben, but it was to confess his feelings to Mu Young. Taeben was surprised to see the quest. He thought the quest was issued according to someone's wishes, saying he never thought like that to Mu Young. X says he doesn't care if his feelings are romantic or not, but he has to say something to Mu Young. Taeben was sitting on the roof, watching some baseball. When Mu Young comes there and asks what he's doing there, he asks if there is something wrong with him. At that time, he was asked whether the A-rank quest was issued or not. Taeben's cheeks turned red after thinking about the topic, and he answered yes. Mu Young says it might be good. The ball came like that after it had been hit, but Mu Young stopped time to save Taeben from being hit. Like Mu Young grabbed Taeben, he could also move in the break. He grabbed the ball. He said it was the first time seeing what it was like to be in timeout, and it was amazing. Ranker is a person who has rolled a special ability. Here are 6 abilities. Strongest ability, time lag. Cloaking ability to become invisible. Levitation ability to fly. Psychokinesis, ability to move things at will. Taeben wonders what the other 2 abilities are. He also thinks about the rule change that Taeben said he'd do it right there too. Jihai said. Everything looked like a book with titles, but when he tried to open it, he had to open it using dice. He saw Dawn and told her about himself. They did a test. They bought some help from the shop by paying with dice, and combined it with his ability to enhance it. So that way Jihei could see through his body and the circulatory system. He even saw more very deeply, like there was a galaxy inside it. Taeben ran to reach there. Initially he thought if they could find out about X by enhancing Jihai's abilities. They all prepared to work on the plan to find out about X. That night, the sky looked bright red, which they all felt chills through their bones. They decided to start the discovery without Taeben, Mu Young, and Seiyun, so they could surprise them with the results. X's identity was the most discussed topic among them. Some used to think that he was an alien. Some thought he was God. But Dawn used to think that X was Pearson. Today, Dongtae was also shocked after knowing their wild guess. According to him, X couldn't be the person. He asked what happened next if they could find X's identity. All the text had been deleted by someone is standing behind him, and it is Mu Young. Mu Young gets a text from when Taeben got there. He wondered what just happened. At present time, Sung Chul is trapped in a barrier, so he can't escape. Miju asks him to come down and fight, as he has no other option. Unju was outside the barrier and couldn't get through it to stop the fight. X asks him who he thinks will win it, giving him 3 options to choose one of them. He is shocked to see the third option, where no one wins between the two of them. Back to Taben's flashback, he ran to the top of the floor. When he entered the room, there was no one, but it seemed they were there a moment ago. He heard a noise from the roof, so he ran there. When he got there, he was stunned to see the Muyong grabbing Jihai by the neck. At this point, Unju asks what he means by no winner. He asks X what he plans to do. Mr. Unju knocked harder on the barrier and tried to stop them. X tells him that they can't hear him, so he should lean back and enjoy the show. Sung Chul didn't find any other choice, so he landed by attacking her, but Miju still escaped his attack. Unju tries to warn them. X says if he really wants to stop them, he can show them. Taben flashback. Jihai asked everyone to run. From there, he told them that he had seen his reality, because Mu Young was not human, but some other creature who gave them the dice on purpose. It was all his plan. Mu Young repeated the cycle many times. He gathered the A rankers and stole their dice. Before Jihai can say more about it, Mu Young smashes his head on the floor and the dice fall off his body. Jihai died on the spot. Mu Young was like he was in a trance, and Taben was like he was seeing a nightmare. The others attack him, but no one is a match for him. Taben asks the truth what he plans to do. Dawn tries to wake Jihai up because he doesn't accept she is dead. Mu Young has the dice of all 4 other abilities collected near him, and he does it all for the opponent X again and gets the last dice. Taben asks him to stop that. Mu Young asks him if he remembers what he said back then. In the past, they were lying on the grass. Mu Young said if Taben was God, Taben wouldn't have made that kind of world. He said if Taben was in his place, he would have understood. Si-Yoon attacks him from behind, using her teleportation ability, but he escapes her attack and grabs her from the neck. Mu Young kills her too, and Se-Yoon crumbles before Taben's eyes. The most brilliant season of his life ended before him. On the other hand, other students to attack him used their cloaking and Psychokine's abilities. Taben told everyone to stop. He told him that the day they met, he was very happy. He thought Mu Young was a good person, and he used to like him. He confessed about his feelings. Suddenly he got his golden dice when he completed his quest. In the present day, X tells Unju that he can show her a way to stop the fight, and only she can do it. Taben became vengeful, right when his friend died, and he was the only survivor of that day. Mu Young completes the main quest and is transported to. Taben says he lost his ability to escape from his past, but the dice are still rolling and now Mu Young has appeared again. Dongtae asks if all his friends are really dead. He says yes. At the end is a strange dice that appears when someone dies. He told her that. Mu Young doesn't care about sacrificing other people's lives for his cause, so they have to strengthen their abilities to stop him. Taben asks if he wants to cooperate. Dongtae walks away and says he's not interested in collecting ability rankings. On the other hand, Miju is attacking Sung Chul, which he escapes every time she attacks his back, hoping he will activate his ability. Unju asked X what he suggested. X tells him that Unju can stop the fight if he becomes a dice player. He adds that the dice are thrown out by greed. Each quest is a presentation of one's dreams or desires, however greed sometimes leads to downfall. There Miju finally uses her cloaking ability and disappears. X tells him that stronger drive makes a person get more dice, and he has the strongest will of all the dicers in the world. And, on the other hand, Taben wonders if Dongtae really won't gather an A rank or other abilities to stop Mu Young. Dongtae replies that if he had to beat other people to gather their abilities, he would be no different from Mu Young. But Taben is just as confused as the two of them. Planning to engage in PvP, a flashback crossed Taben's mind as Mu Young told him that if he were in his place, he would understand. This makes him angry and he attacks Dongtae, but Dongtae stops time and takes him from behind. Dongtae tells him that he's not interested in the final dice, but that doesn't mean that he'll just stand there and do nothing to stop Mu Young. Eunju asked X if he could really stop this fight. X tells him that since he announced the competition for the final death, there has been chaos, but now he wants to introduce a new player there. Many dice players are trying to reach a rank, but he doesn't need them. He wants Unju because it would be more fun if Unju joins the game. Unju asked him to use it to unroll the dice to end all the quests, as there was no other way to change things without the dice. Suddenly, he gets distracted by the sound of Sung Chul trying to look for Miju. He wonders where she is hiding. Miju traps him in an invisible net so he can't float any higher, but he tears the net apart. Suddenly, Sung Chul finds himself having acid thrown at him by Miju, and it starts to burn him. Unju asks them to stop because this is going too far. The dice started to fall from Sung Chul's body. Sung Chul cried for help, but he had to get out of there, so he floated, but he was still trapped in the box and the dice fell from his body. Miju became happy, because all she had to do was wait for Sung Chul to soon run out of dice, and the fight would be over. Unju asks them to stop chasing dice when they can do anything, even without dice. Miju says it's easy for her to say that because she already has everything, but the world isn't even fair for people like her. In the trials of beautiful girls, it was thought that innocent looks decided to be worth it. When Miju realized that there would always be a high and a low, that she wanted to get higher and higher, so she had to go to the highest place. Suddenly the rain starts, and his cloaking becomes useless. Sung Chul finally starts to see Miju. On the other hand, Taeban asks if Dongtae really thinks he can beat Muyong without any other rank abilities. Instead of answering Dongtae's question, what would he do if he got the final die, then he just walks away saying he got what he needed to know. Back to Sung Chul, who starts grabbing Miju by the neck and scooping her up higher in the air. He asks her to stop fighting as she accepts she lost, but she says she won't let him live. Well, he lets go, but Miju grabs his leg and hangs. X told Unju that it was still not too late as he could save the two of them, but he was just joking because the game was over. Miju falls right before his eyes and dies. Sung Chul also landed on the ground because he was bad, but a lot of dice came out of his body because he had serious injuries. Elsewhere, Dongtae comes to Mio's house to check on her. Dongtae calls Mio's name while standing outside the partially opened door, but Mio doesn't speak a word. Dongtae tries to look her in and asks if she's okay if he doesn't come to school. Dongtae asks her to open the door. She says Mio is happy Dongtae came, but she does not want to see him. Mio didn't have the confidence to look at her profile as with her new powers. She can automatically see people's profiles. She's afraid that she'll find out that she doesn't like him at all. Dongtae asks her if Mio has become a ranker. Mio answers yes. Dongtae says he's happy to hear that, but then he thinks that Mio has become Mu Young's target too. Dongtae tells him to rest, saying he will see him at school tomorrow, and says he will leave. Mio suddenly tells him that her quest is to spend one night at Dongtae's place with him. Mio asks if it's not frustrating. Dongtae says it's not frustrating at all. He tells her that he likes her, and asks what Mio feels about him. Mio further asks if Dongtae still likes Unju. He says tomorrow Dongtae will tell Unju and do something that he will tell her that he always liked her even before becoming a dice player. Dongtae would tell her that he always wanted to pay attention to her, but now he had realized it wasn't love but more like a longing for something beyond his reach. On the other hand, Unju cried sitting behind Michu and asked her to wake up. Dongtae tells Mio that the dice are important to him because they have helped him become the person he always wanted to be like. Dongtae explains about his preferences now that he is ready to let Unju go. Dongtae asks Mio if she is free this weekend to go with him to the amusement park. And that made Mio surprised. On the other hand, Sung Chul tried to stand up, and Unju looked at him in surprise. Sung Chul ran towards Miju, and Unju thanked God that at least Sung Chul was alive. Unju asked him to go to the hospital, but Sung Chul saw the dice and ran towards them, thinking he could use them to recover. Sung Chul collected as many dice as he could, but he couldn't find any A-rank dice. He kicked the corpse to move it, thinking the dice might be under it. Unju tried to stop him, but he pushed her back. Some people came chasing, listening to the sound as they saw a dead body, and injured people. They decided to call the police in an ambulance. After hearing about the police, Sung Chul got scared and drifted from there to escape. Unju asks him to come back, as he won't last much longer in this condition. Then he notices the light from the dice coming from Miju's hand. Back to Dongtae's side, who asks Mio if she wants to go to the amusement park with him. Mio replies yes, but she warns him that if he does any nonsense like last time, he will make Dongtae regret it. Dongtae feels embarrassed and smiles. Then he says he will go now, and they will meet tomorrow at school. Mio thought about what she should do since she was still afraid of seeing his profile. But in the end, Mio opened the door and went out when Dongtae turned towards her looking at her profile, and found that Dongtae likes Unju, but Dongtae also likes Mio, so that way Mio became happy. On the other hand, suddenly Songchul flies over the city and buys a potion to help him heal, but at that time his wound cannot be recovered because it is too fatal, so now he falls to the ground. The students gather around Songchul's lifeless body and see the dice scattered around him. Some greedy students used this opportunity and started taking the dice. A teacher named Mr. Kim saw the busyness and came running there. He saw Songchul's body, and then he saw the golden dice. Another teacher comes there and asks about what happened here. Kim quietly took the dice and put them in her pocket, saying she would call 911 to handle the case. On the other hand, Mio asks Dongtae if he wants to go inside and have some food before leaving. Dongtae wants to stay, but she says she'll come home as is late. Mio sadly says, okay. Dongtae expresses it again and says that there are a lot of unknown rankers who could attack her to get the dice, so she should be careful. She adds that if something comes up, she should call him immediately. Dongtae says he will take care of it. Mio watches Dongtae leave from upstairs when she notices that an unknown person is following Dongtae from behind. Dongtae is very hungry and finds there's only one rice ball left on the store shelf. The food he was going to choose, but someone took it earlier. He looks and finds that he is a young boy wearing headphones. The boy greets him and asks if he lives nearby. Dongtae wonders who he is and why he is trying to be blunt with him. The boy looks at him and asks if he really doesn't recognize him. The boy spontaneously hugged him and said they were close friends. Dongtae tries to remember who this boy is. Dongtae remembers that before dice he had to run to the store to bring food for the other kids. But there was always a rush when he used to get there. Once when he finally got a burger, a fat boy came and pushed him away and bought them all the burger. He asked him, he was fine, but all he did pay attention to was the burger he bought. Dongtae thought he was also like a bread delivery. Dongtae that time he was beaten after that because he couldn't bring them food. The next day it happened again. The same boy bought all the burgers. Again it became an everyday thing, and he always failed to get his burgers every day. The boy asks if he wants a burger. Dongtae refuses, thinking he doesn't want to cause trouble for the other bread shuttlers. But when Dongtae saw her eating the burger, he asked if she didn't buy it for someone else. The boy answered why he bought it for someone else. At this time, Dongtae says if he was the same guy, he would have to say that the dice did an amazing job for him. The boy says his name is Chae-hyun. He says that Dongtae has changed a lot too. He asks where he is going. Dongtae replies that he is going to buy a phone. Chae-hyun says he is going with him. On the other hand, while sitting in the teacher's room, Mr. Kim looks at the dice and thinks, what is this? He remembers that the students looked at them with greed. He is sure that these are not some ordinary dice and tries to find out what the truth is hidden behind them. Elsewhere, Dongtae has bought a phone in 3-year installments. He happily changes it, but at the same time he sees a call coming from Mio. Dongtae attends the call. Mio yells at him and asks why he isn't picking up his calls. Dongtae reminds her that his phone is broken, and he just bought a new one. Mio tells Dongtae that someone was following her when she left her house. It was a boy in a red baseball jersey with headphones on his head. Dongtae tells her that she might have misunderstood, but thanks her for looking for him. Then Dongtae sees Chae-hyun and asks who he really is. Dongtae says he's fair to say that he didn't randomly bump into him. Dongtae asks if Chae-hyun is after his dice. Dongtae stops time and moves to attack him, but Chae-hyun bought aid from the shop which helped him to escape from the 30-second time lag effect. Dongtae wonders how he could have possibly moved during the time gap. Chae-hyun explains the reason. He tells Dongtae that he is not a ranker either, but he will not tell about his abilities. He suggested that they should form a party to work together. On the other side, Mr. Kim is in the corridor with other teachers when his phone rings. He gets a message that he has officially become a dice player. Mr. Kim wonders what it is because he doesn't know anything about dice. To which another teacher tells him that today a lot of strange and chaotic things are happening around. He is thinking of retiring because he can't keep up with the changing times. He wished he could turn back time. But suddenly he saw a student and told Kim about him. A student came to him and said he stopped studying as he found something amazing. Suddenly he saw that student in the corridor. He asked what he was doing at school. Mr. Kim noticed the rays of light coming from his fist. Back to Dongtae. Chae-hyun tells him that she saw him fighting with Taebin at school, and came to know that he wasn't interested in the last dice, so she thought she should talk to him. Because there are 16 dice players and a total of 6 abilities, in the end 2 people still survive. He says that most rankers hide their identities as it benefits them. But everyone knows that Dongtae is an A ranker, so he is at the greatest risk of being attacked. Suddenly their cell phones rang at the same time. It was a new quest from X, and all the rankers had to participate in it. Kim's phone and the student's phone also rings, and Kim looks at him. Guaranteed everyone who has gold dice, including Unju, will get a notification to wage war at school. Both Chaehyun and Dongtae were shocked and wondered what kind of war their ex told them that the battle for the final death was starting. X said that not many rankers took part in PvP since the new rules were established, and it wasn't fun. The team that gets 3 wins first wins the battle. For the attacking team, they will get a prize for completing a quest to destroy something in the school, and as a bonus they will get dice. There is no reward for the surviving team in the middle of the quest, but there will be a bonus if they win, namely getting information from the losing team members will be sent to the winning team to reveal it to identify the dice player. In neutral team will not take part in the war, and there is no bonus for them, but there is punishment for them. Dongtae got the X and just wanted to spread the word about the dice player. X asks them to choose a team before the first period. Chaehyun asks him which team he will choose. Dongtae said he would choose the defensive team, as he said the offensive team had more advantages. Dongtae tells him that X made the rules with that in mind. The quests where Unju is the target reward keep changing. Unju could be in danger again, so he had to choose a defensive team. Unju asked X why he even sent him this notification, even though he wasn't a player. X says Unju has the Miju dice he left behind. He asks her what she is planning on doing, that she tells him that he took it so no one can get it and get in trouble. He won't roll it forever. He said he would give the dice to someone he trusted. The boy from school today came to meet someone to whom he gave a map of the school. The boy told the mysterious man that he saw an A ranker at school today who was a teacher. The person found it strange, as X unlike the adults in the game. The boy asks who the guy he knows at school is. He says it's a friend he hasn't seen in a while. Unju tried to remember when he stopped playing the piano and started singing in the choir. He remembered the time he heard some girls in the bathroom calling him that obnoxious attention seeker. He was just born lucky, and he was already showing off. Unju felt bad and ran away from him. There he remembered that even in his childhood, he used to admire others, but people called his hard work just luck. Unju went to the music room and started playing the piano, and Taebin heard him playing. The next day when Taebin met with Unju, he told him that he heard Unju playing the piano on purpose, and admired him, saying that he had to work hard to become better at it. It was the first time someone admired her efforts, and Unju accidentally started crying, and they became closer as peers after that. But the truth is, Unju didn't know anything about Taebin. Even now she doesn't know the way he originally looked, and why he was afraid of Mu Young. But now he has to become stronger, because there is a big war ahead of him. On the other hand, X tells Kim everything about the dice and the quest, and she's also amused to hear about the final dice reward, and she's happy when he gets the power of levitation. 9 hours before the quest, Dongtae read the guidelines thoroughly and found them in a difficult position. Dongtae asks X if it's possible to find out who has picked which team. He was sure that Taebin would choose the same team because he wouldn't put Unju in any danger at all. According to his predictions, these will be the 3 members confirmed to be on the team. He asks Mio not to choose a team because she will be everyone's target, because she is the only one with clairvoyance. He doesn't want her identity like that to be revealed if they lose. He says her losing isn't like his plan, but he will think about it. Dongtae bought abilities from the shop which he found helpful, and then he finally chose his team the next day at school. He was standing by the window when Mio came and called him from behind. He asked her about the team. She told him that Dongtae thought of at least 3 members in the team. But Chaehyun didn't answer him, and there was no sign. Taebin too, he said he had to tell him something, but at the same time Unju came there. He asked where Taebin was. The quest is about to start, and he's not here. Dongtae wonders how he knows about that. Unju tells him that he doesn't know where Taebin is either. When the teacher was about to close the gate when the boy came there with Mu Young, the countdown starts. The end of it is game time, and X shows the quest details on the big screen. There were 8 members of the attacking team, while only 2 were on the defending team. The remaining 4 were neutral. Dongtae wonders which of Chaehyun and Taebin isn't on the defense team. Mio says she has to tell him something, but whatever he says to her, it makes her angry, and she screams at him. On the other hand, the sports teacher first asked who they were. Then he recognized Samsu Sang as a former graduate of this school from 2 years ago. The teacher sees Mu Young and asks if he graduated from here too. He tried to take off his hoodie, but Mu Young grabbed his hand. Mio says that she chose the defensive team too. making Dongtae ask why Mio did so even when he asked Mio to remain neutral. Mio says she just can't sit and do nothing and let Dongtae fight alone in danger. Mio comforts him and says they can do this together. That makes the dice players happy because they can already see the winner. Mio tells them that their lives are over at risk, so how can they think about betting? Moo Young breaks the teacher's arm and throws it away. The students look at this scene from the window and recognize him as the person from the video that was spread earlier. Unju was surprised to see him the first time. Dongtae ran towards the stairs to go down. X will finally announce the first period targets. Dongtae thought that he had not seen her sullen face when he only heard her voice that day, especially since none of the dice players had survived after meeting her except Taebin. He had to see who was under the hood. On the way down, he passes Kim, who understands standing up that Dongtae must be on the opposing team because he can't see the team verification tag on him. Students place bets on the attacking team. Mio tells Unju that only she and Dongtae are on the defensive team to fight for their beliefs. Unju is also worried because it is dangerous to keep it. Samsu-sang got the dice from beating the teacher. He would beat a student now. Dongtae comes there and asks him to stop. He ignores Sam and asks Moo Young about what he plans to do with the last dice. At the same time, X announces the first period target as the students have placed their bets. He is given a clue about the target, where he has a cast on his arm, and he is hiding in the restroom on the 3rd floor. Dongtae thought that there were 2 toilets on the floor there, and they were opposite each other. Sam ran towards him like he was about to attack him, but he teleported himself to the target location. Dongtae was worried because the target was in danger. After hearing about the quest, the boys started running away from the restroom. Sam teleports him to the wrong room, but he has to teleport him one more time. Dongtae doesn't have many dice, but he has to use the time lag to save the targets he takes the opportunity to take advantage of. Sam finds the guy hiding in the restroom, but Dongtae comes there and kicks him, protecting the target. Unexpectedly, his target looked at him and found that he was the person who bullied Dongtae in the past, and his name was Hyunjo. A few days ago at the hospital, Hyunjo was discharged after staying there for 3 months. But what happened to him at school still makes him shake. He changed completely during his stay at the hospital and thought he would become a good person. Now he wondered when so many beautiful girls were accepted into the school. Suddenly, 2 people bumped into him and moved forward. He gets angry and asks them to stop and apologize to him. They know him and start laughing at him. He asked them to follow him to the restroom, and he would have made them beg for forgiveness with both hands, but in the restroom he was beaten by them. Instead, one of the guys asked him if he didn't know anything about dice, to which he answered he didn't, who asked him to teach him what it was, but they left him there and went away. When the quest is finished to start, he stays there for a while, stay away from everyone, except Sam comes there and is going to beat him, and Dongtae saves him. He is shocked, as Dongtae is someone he bullied in the past but is now protecting him. He tries to run from there, but Sam teleports to catch him, but Dongtae kicks him again. He asks Hyunjo to stay back there, otherwise he will kill him. Moo Young asks the boy if he knew Taebin. The boy asks if he was the one who asked about the person who transferred here at the beginning of the year, asks Moo Young where he is. The boy tells him that Taebin isn't in his class, so he doesn't know. Moo Young throws him away and moves towards the school building. The students see him coming upstairs and start running away from there so he doesn't attack them. X is showing the battle on the screen and asking students to guess the winner. They are confident that the attacking team will win. Sam got that Dongtae fast enough without even using his dice ability. He made a plan. He teleported him and attacked Hyunjo from top to bottom. Dongtae again kicks his bag to push him away, but it's only a diversion as Sam teleports again and attacks from the other side. Dongtae increased his agility and kicked Hyunjo this time to save him from Sam's attack. Hyunjo crumbles into the sink. Students hide from Moo Young. Sam was getting angry after wasting 3 dice while Dongtae was fighting using his basic skills. He tells him that soon another attacker will be there to capture the target, so what will he do then? Instead of answering, he asks Sam if his best man is Moo Young. Dongtae remembers Taebin telling him the Moo Young will appear again and again. No one at school will be safe. Taebin is on the roof, and he has discovered that the hooded man is not that Moo Young. He doesn't move during the time lag, and his attack patterns are as different as they are just similar. If someone else tries to impersonate Moo Young to threaten them, or this fake man was created by real Moo Young and sent here. But he definitely knows that Taebin is here. Taebin went downstairs and thought about where the real Moo Young was. On the other hand, the students ran scared. Dai Wong used his cloaking ability to randomly attack students to get the dice, and he was on the attack team. Sam asks if Mu Young is someone's name. Dongtae asks to speak to him with respect, because he is his senior, and he shouldn't ask him about his friends. Dongtae tells him that Mu Young has no friends, and he will betray him for his dice too. Sam says he doesn't know about Mu Young, he just wants to destroy this school. He saves some bombs and throws them at him and they explode, but Dongtae saves him, and Hyunjo takes cover from the door. For this damage, the attack team makes dice. X stops transmitting to deliver an important message. The vice principal is trying to call for help, but the phone isn't working. A teacher comes there and tells her that they tried to escape too, but they couldn't, because there was some kind of invisible barrier around. Flashback of Samsu-sung telling him that when he was young, his mother left the family and his father became a drunkard and they became poor. Used to think that if he studied harder, he could have a good career, but it was proven that he was not smart enough and he couldn't get anything with his efforts and dedication. His efforts were mediocre, resulting in mediocre things. He took extra coaching classes, but still just failed the exam. He did different jobs earning money. After failing twice, he got a letter from the army to join, as he was not good at studying. One night, while he was walking down the street, someone gave him dice, and it changed his life. He got the highest results in the university entrance test. Then he regretted having wasted 3 years of effort, as dice were all he needed. The guy who gave him the dice asks about his high school, as he wants to look for someone here. The guy in the hood continues to beat up random students and says he won't stop until Tabin shows up. An announcement was made to everyone gathered in the school auditorium. Sam asks why he saves the school and the people who wronged him. Instead, he has to take revenge from them using the abilities he has all from dice. So why doesn't he make others kneel before him using dice? Dongtae says it's not the purpose of dice to avenge others. There were about 17 minutes left to end the quest. Everyone who placed bets on the attacking team was angry because they might lose all their dice, so they all decided to go and help the attacking team to complete the quest. Unju and Mio were actually worried. Now Mio tries to find a rancor among those who use her abilities. Dongtae drops the door and they enter in front of each other. Sam sees that Dongtae is fine, and the bomb hasn't done him any damage, so he decides to throw another bomb because Dongtae doesn't have anything to cover this time. Dongtae is worried because it's the first period, and he's fighting all the A rankers will show their identities, but only 2 of them have shown up. Sam remembers that the hooded man told him to take care of Target, and he would find Tabin. All the gamblers run towards the bathroom to eliminate Target themselves. Dongtae asks Hyunjo to get ready because he has a plan. He bought something from the inventory and threw it at Sam. It's a stun bomb that only emits bright light and loud sound after explosion, so the opponent can't see anything. Dongtae grabs Hyunjo and runs outside thinking where he should go. He sees all the gamblers running towards him, they surround him and demand a target. He is worried about what he should do if Mu Young finds him. On the other hand, Mio was surprised to find the A ranker, as he was her teacher in training, who asked the students to go to the auditorium, but she couldn't find him which side he was on team. Saw them, and asked why didn't they go to the auditorium. Dongtae tries to make him understand that it's not just simple gambling because their own lives are threatened too, but they say as long as they don't attack, they don't care about that. Suddenly the hooded man approached them from behind. There are only 10 minutes left to end the quest. Dongtae sees the hooded man and warns them, but at the same time Sam attacks him using pliers, which he manages to dodge. Sam says he doesn't care if someone gets hurt, he just wants to win the quest. He provokes the others to attack him together, and they do. Dongtae used his physical buff and overclocked agility along with his throwing Hyunjo in the air and defeated everyone in short order. Then he caught Hyunjo and saved him again. It really happened. As there were less than 5 minutes left for the quest to end his madness, he threw a dice bomb at him. When other students are present there as well for Dongtae to stop time once again. On the other hand, Kim asks them why not leave the auditorium. Mio thinks if he is planning something against all of us. Suddenly another teacher comes there and he tells her that these girls are not moving. Mio couldn't drag him any longer as Kim might suspect, so she followed him. He asked Unju to stick to clothes no matter what so he could protect her. Unju said he was fine on his own. Mio says she can see what Unju is hiding, and she should be thankful as if it was someone else she might have killed him because of that dice cloaking ability. Dongtae takes the dice bombs and throws them away, and eliminating the timeout, an explosion occurs outside. Sam activates his special combination of abilities to attack him. Dongtae no longer had the dice to pause time, and there was still 1.5 minutes left to end the quest. Kim wondered who would be the next target as the first period of time drew to a close. Mio asks Unju how he got into the dead rancor. Unju told him everything. Mio asks him what he plans to do with this dice. Suddenly the bell rang. The first period was over. Mio wonders what the results of the quest will be before Sam starts appearing in many copies. Dongtae asks if this is a dummy trick. He says it is an infinite consecutive teleportation that allows him to keep teleporting and levels faster. He said it might increase his agility, but he couldn't be caught. Sam goes after Hyunjo, but Dongtae catches him. He calls him an idiot and says he just has to catch that one. Sam can't teleport any more than that. Dongtae punches him in the stomach and the time quest ends, and X announces the winner is defense team. All of those gamblers now regret placing their bets on the attacking team. Hyunjo feels grateful because he is not a target anymore. Dongtae falls because he didn't fully recover from the physical damage. He suddenly became extreme. He saw the hooded man coming towards him. X said that the second target was to be announced soon. The hooded man hits everyone who gets in his way. Once the students run away from him, Dongtae throws a kick at him, but he blocks it using air gravity and pushes him back. Dongtae thinks it's a strange miracle ability because it's an ability he's never seen before. Before the point, he asks everyone to escape from there. He didn't have any dice left. All he could do was a physical attack, but because of his air gravity skill, he couldn't even reach him. His attack didn't work, but then he remembered that at the start, he didn't block his attack. He was actually deflected. Dongtae, who was thinking about what the man was, he asked who he was and why he was hiding his abilities. On the other hand, Mio says that Kim has a suspect on them, so it's better for them to go to the auditorium for now. Suddenly he heard some students who came running from their side of the toilet, thanking God that the hooded man didn't kill them. Unju looked back and caught Taeben passing by, so he ran to stop him. Mio knew that Unju wasn't safe alone, so she ran behind her. Unju came down. Mio tried to stop him, but he ran away hysterically. On the other hand, Hyunjo asked Dongtae to run from there because he hasn't recovered from the previous fight. Dongtae asks him to go without him, but Hyunjo is afraid of the other kids too. The hooded man asked him where Taeben was. Meanwhile, Mio finally catches Unju and asks why she is acting strangely. But then he also saw Taeben there. The hooded man asks Dongtae if he has his dice from Taeben. Dongtae wonders why he asked this question. He asks her to reveal her identity first and then he will tell her. The hooded man said it seemed like he didn't know anything. Dongtae tells him that he chased Taeben one day and accidentally took the dice, but Taeben never wanted to pass it on. But then he remembered that Taeben really didn't try hard to stop him. He doubted whether it was just a coincidence or intentional. Acting at the same time, the hooded person threw an airwave at him. Dongtae barely holds himself and thinks if he can use the time lag, he can fight him. But then Dongtae saw Chaehyun waving at him from behind the hood. Elsewhere, Unju calls Taeben's name and he turns around. Taeben tells him to go to a safe place because it's dangerous here. Unju says he has a question to ask. Unju tells him that X has told him everything about the events that happened now and the last dice. He also told him about Taeben being a dice player, and he was the one who passed the dice around. Mio felt the vibrations getting stronger every time Unju asked about Mu Young, and why Taeben was so afraid of being chased by him. But Taeben didn't answer a single question. He tried to tell him something other than that. Elsewhere, Dongtae couldn't hear a single thing. Chaehyun asked him why he came now, and where he was before he apologized to him and told him in sign language that he fell asleep while he was playing games late at night, and he was in a hurry rush and accidentally chose the attacking team, so don't misunderstand him, and make up to him, he will throw something at him. He calls out to the hooded man, and then throws a bomb at him, which the hooded man tries to deflect, but it explodes there. Unju asked Taeben if the hooded man hanging around the school was Mu Young. Taeben answered that he was fake, and the real one would appear soon, but he had to prevent him from getting the last dice. X announces that it is time to reveal the name of the second target. Chaehyun says that he will throw something at him, and Dongtae has to catch it. Then he throws some dice at him. Unju asks why he did start acting strangely so suddenly, and why he had to stop Mu Young so badly. Unju asked him what Taeben would do if he had his final death. Taeben recalls the time he was lying on the green grass with Mu Young, and he asked her the same question, and she answered him, but he doesn't remember what answer he gave her. Mio noticed that the roof was going to break, and it did. She pushed Unju away and saved her from getting hurt. Taeben asks them to go back and says he will deal with the hooded man and runs from there. In Dongtae's other place, he caught the blue dice but couldn't catch the hammer dice, but Hyunjo caught it and gave it to Dongtae. Dongtae asked Chaehyun, "What is this dice for?" He told him that it was an enchanting dice and it would increase his chances of strengthening his ranked abilities, but the chances were not 100%. Dongtae thought about whether he should use it or not. Dongtae asks where he got those dice. He says he will tell the story later, but first he has to focus on stopping the hooded man. He asks to hurry up and roll the dice. Hyunjo told him the same Dongtae thought if he used the fail dice he wouldn't be able to protect this student, so he said he wouldn't use it. Instead he used another die to use the time lag ability. Mio helped him in standing. Unju apologized to him for not listening to him earlier, then she started crying because of Tabin. Suddenly, X asks students to start placing their bets as the second round is about to start. Some students try to get in, but there is a barrier so they can't escape. Besides, there was no cell signal so they couldn't contact anyone either. Dongtae uses the effect timeout. He frees everyone from the effect except the hooded man. He tells Chae-hyun that he will return the enchant dice, but he asks him to keep them. Dongtae tells him that there are risks to using it, so he doesn't take any chances. He ended the timeout effect and asked everyone to move to safety. Here Hyunjo apologizes to him for bullying him in the past, which Dongtae accepts his apology. He asks if Byung-chul is really dead, and how did he die. Says X has the answer to his question. Says X that he was annoying him, so he removed him from the game. Dongtae tells him to shut up and asks him for the next quest. X said that the second quest was drumroll. He said there was an addition in the rule, only applies to rank A, and that is only blind bet. X gave the target name, and it was Chun Nabong. Dongtae asks if he can give more hints. X said that it would be against the rules. Dongtae thinks that finding a target just by its name is almost impossible. The hooded man buys healing items to heal Sam. Here, Dongtae and the others are searching the recording room to find details about the man. According to Unju, he had heard that name before. Suddenly, he remembers that it is the name of the ethics teacher, and he is in danger, as Mr. Kim is now with him in the auditorium. They, Mio and Unju, ran to save him. Kim asks Mr. Chun to come with him to the audio room as the speakers are not working. Chun Nobong asks Kim what was wrong with the speakers. Kim says she has to check, but the door is locked. Mr. Chun said that usually the door was never locked, so he took him up the stairs to the audio room. Unju and Mio ran to get there faster. The hooded man shows Sam the target's name and asks Sam who he is. Sam says it was the ethics teacher. He said that they can find him in the auditorium because everyone is there. Tabin hid behind the wall and he heard that too. Meanwhile, Daewong is busy beating up passers-by and collecting dice. He wasn't interested in the quest, but when he saw that the defender had won one quest, even by being the lower number, he wondered what the other attackers were up to. Suddenly, he saw Unju and Mio running towards the auditorium. X is more in accordance with the situation of the players. He has obtained the instructions. He said to Dongtae that it was a shameful thing that he still hadn't found that person. Suddenly, he saw his teacher's attendance list and thought if he was missing something. Unju and Mio reached the auditorium where they were looking for the teacher, and then they found Chun Nabong going to the audio room with Kim, who opened the door. Mr. Chun asks if the door wasn't locked according to his initial statement. Kim locks herself inside and asks him if he has heard of dice. Mr. Chun asks what dice Kim is talking about, as he himself said before that there is something wrong with the students since the death of the student who jumped off the roof. He is right because someone is brainwashing the students with things called dice. Mr. Chun asked how it was possible. He said that someone known as Student Mr. Chun said he still couldn't believe what Kim told him. Unju tried to open the door, but it was locked. He asked to open the door. Mio says she can feel his presence there, but she ties up Kim, saying that she knows that they are trying to attack Teacher Chun to get the dice, but she won't let this happen. They say that they are here to ensure her safety because they are team defenders. Kim says that he is safe there, so they should leave. Mio finds that Kim is trying to make a way for herself, so she tries to break the door. Mr. Chung was frightened after hearing Kim's voice asking him to run away from there immediately. Mio asks Teacher Chun, finally not believing Kim. Meanwhile, Dongtae finally finds Chun's name on the staff list. Suddenly his cell phone rings. He picks up the call. It's Yoonju on the phone, and he asks her to come to the auditorium now to save Teacher Chun. He told the others that they had to go to the auditorium. Before leaving, he destroys the office and gets the dice. Kim asks Mr. Chun to move quickly and take him somewhere. He was happy as the second quest target was his now. Sam says he can head to the auditorium, but the hooded man asks him to manage alone, so he teleports there. The hooded man asked Tabin to come out. On the other hand, Unju and Mio were still trying, but there was no response from within. Kim tells Mr. Chun that he will keep him safe and that he can be trusted. He took it back to the storage room. X asks him to show him some fun. Remembering his first chat with X where he told Kim that he didn't like adults, They were boring because they were after money and that wasn't fun. Kim said that X is definitely a child like Peter Pan who never gets old and wants to have fun, he said. When one gets old, one forgets what pleasure is, and that is because they have no other choice. Kim asked him if he had any plans after retirement. Mr. Chun said he only wanted to grow a small garden. Unju tells Mio that there is a way to the storage room from the back of the auditorium and he may have taken the teacher there. Mio asked as she ran there. Kim saves Chun from falling and says to follow him. As it is dark, he takes him to the edge of the bridge. He floats up and asks Chun to follow him. Unju and Mio were running towards the backstage storage room as they were sure that Mr. Chun had been taken there. Kim asks him to hurry as they are evacuating his levitation ability is also about to end. Mr. Chun asked if his eyes had become so bad, or more because the road was dark, he couldn't see the next step. Kim says that's why he's in charge. Mr. Chun agreed to take the next step. On the other hand, Dongtae uses the dice that Chae-hyun gave him to use the time lag. As soon as everything stopped, Dongtae ran towards the auditorium. She wonders if Dongtae will be there either because he has got a lot of injuries from the last fight, even he fell on the way while running. He gets up again, and they reach the auditorium. They saw that all the students were present there, and it was difficult to find the teacher above all. There's not much time left for the break. Time, he asks Chae-hyun if he has any more dice, and replies that they're all the dice he got from destroying the office. Dongtae improves his agility to find the teacher, but all goes in vain. The time lag effect ends, and everything returns to normal once again. Mr. Chun moved forward and took the final step. There, X dropped a piece of the chessboard. Everyone heard a roar from behind the stage. As the students remove the curtain, they see Teacher Chun fall there and die around him. X announced that the winner of the second quest was the attacking team instead for fear for him. The students ran to the teacher to collect dice falling around him. As they try to pick them all are transferred to Kim because she is the winner of the quest. Kim flies away to escape from there. Mio grabbed Unju's hand and asked him to hurry up and catch up with her. Unju stops and says there's no point chasing him now. Mio says if he asked him to let the attack team escape, did he forget that he was on the defense team? Unju says whether it's defense or attack, they're both the same because they're both stuck playing X. Mio grabs him by his shirt and asks if it doesn't affect him just because he's not a dice player. Unju says if no one chooses defense from the start, what will happen? It makes Mio think about this possibility. She thinks that X just gave them a choice. If no one chooses defense, the quest will be invalid. X, who saw this, admired that Unju was sharp. He told them what Unju did was right. Quests must take place between two teams. If there are no two teams, then the quest will not take place. But everything is now fun now. Unju asks him to stop all this. X asked him if he really wanted to stop him. Unju already knew what he had to do. He asked him to push one side of the defense or attack with the help of dice and end the game. X was about to announce target's third period. He checked and found that Mr. Chun was breathing slowly. They couldn't take him to the hospital because of the obstruction. Dongtae looked at him and Byung-chil crossed his mind. Dongtae gets angry at X and he promises that he will end this war quest. Elsewhere, Kim hides in a storage room. He saw Taebin just teleported there and the hooded man came there too. The man told Taebin that this war quest was a trivial matter, and no one would win as he was not interested in it. X just wants to gather all the rankers and wants to appoint the next S ranker. Taebin asks him who he is. He says if he wants to know about him, he will take off his hoodie. But then he says he would like it to experience its power first. Taebin gets angry and runs towards him to attack him. Taebin teleports behind the blow, but the hooded man blocks it using his air gravity skill, and then pushes him back. Taebin tries again and teleports to attack, but he dodges again. There is a pile of chairs on top of him, so he tries to fall on them, but he escapes this attack too. Taebin wonders that there is a scar on her neck that he saw accidentally a moment ago, and asks her if she was threatened by Mu Young, or if she followed his orders. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Unju asked X what this picture was about. X tells him that everyone in this school is a third-period target. The attacking team must destroy everyone and complete the head count. Mio asks how they are supposed to save everyone at school. Mr. Mio was worried about how she would go about doing this. He asked Unju to run and take help from Dongtae, because there were still 8 minutes left to start the quest. Unju thought that if he really became a dice player, he could stop the quest and end the dice by getting the last dice. Mio shakes her and asks her to get up as fair. Meanwhile, the fight between Taebin and the hooded man continues. The hooded man asks why he doesn't use his skills to the fullest, as his abilities are not just limited to teleportation. He even asked him to stop speculating and reveal his identity. He attacked him again, but this time Taben approached him from the front and managed to remove his hood. Finally, the face opened, and he discovered it was Dawn, the previous person who helped him escape and was beaten by Mu-young instead. X says that the score for now is 1-1 between the two teams. Then he announces the targets for the third quest, and says that they are all targets. The attack team has to defeat 64 of them, and as the quota for completing the quest will end if one of the attacks will attack 64 people, the defense team will protect them during this period, creating panic among the students, and they are afraid. X starts the quest. Taben is shocked to see Dawn and asks if she didn't die that day. He asks if she wishes she died. He gets emotional and says he is happy to see Dawn as she was the one who saved him that day. Taben asks if other people are still alive too. Everyone asks Dongtae to save them from being beaten. Dongtae thinks that it's true, like his dream that he saw a long time ago. Everyone is shouting his name like he is a hero. But this is not a dream. This is a nightmare orchestrated by X. Dongtae thinks if he can collect enough dice and surpass X, if he can change completely, he gave orders to everyone to run in different directions. He asked Chae-hyun to protect the people there. While Hyunjo was taken care of by the teacher, he himself went to confront the man who was using cloaking. Daewong hits another student and preys on another student. He grabs a girl's leg to beat Dongtae's guess of her location and kicks her. Dongtae is sure it was her hitting him, but he still can't see it. Dongtae hears his voice and recognizes it as Daewong using his cloaking ability. While Sam also teleported there as he had recovered enough to take his revenge. Now Dongtae has to fight two enemies with no dice to use. Taben said he wasn't the one who spread the dice. It was all because of Dongtae. He said that was just the trigger for the game this time. He said he had no reason to scatter the dice, especially when he almost escaped last time. Dawn said that it seemed Taben had completely forgotten all the events that happened that day. Dawn says Taben didn't run away from Mu-young. He was the one who let him run away. Mu-young only needed 6 people to aim for S rank. He says Mu-young never wanted to hurt him. Taben says he can't understand anything as he asks to remember what happened after Mu-young fell. Taben had been teleported and gone to him. Mu-young told him that elsewhere Mio asks Unju to stop and says that she was somehow able to make a call to Dongtae when he tried to knock down the door. She thought it was possible because of the side effect of the teacher's PvP disabling item. If that's true, they can use the same method to save people person. They tried it, and it worked. Message was sent to Dongtae. Mio remembered that back then when she tried to look at Taben's profile, there were a lot of overlapping profiles. They both started walking towards the storage room again to catch Kim. Taben remembers that Mu-young told him about the contract he made with X. Mu-young told him that he lost to X and he snatched all his dice and combined them with the last dice. He said he wanted a new game, but this time he wanted more entertainment. Mu-young suggests he should have 16 ranks by now, so there will be more fights and more entertainment. In the end, there will be a second place that will really help Mu-young too, and X will find a new person to fight. X think about it first, and then agreed. Then he sent him back. Mu-young asks Taben to move to a new school and find a new friend who will be a trigger for the spread of dice. Someone who wants to be reborn, and when there will be enough to rank, that's when his plan will begin. Taben was asked if he found the trigger, and rolled the dice to see if he could save him. Mu-young's body disappears. He tells her that after the day, all her memories of this conversation will disappear, and she will be left with fear and anger towards him. Taben asks how he could want Taben to hate him. Mu-young says that it's the only way after losing his memories. He will somehow end up scattering the dice. But his job is to prevent that from happening until the last possible moment. That way they will consider Mu-young as an enemy. That way Taben's allies will spread the dice. He will gather A rankers, and no one wants to know that behind Taben is Mu-young. Some of them probably handed over their dice to him to fight Mu-young, so he has to take them, saying his body disappeared. But if Taben is allowed, he can live inside his body as a separate personality. And when he can collect at least for the rank or dice, Mu-young will be able to change form that even he agreed to do. Everything he said was just to save her. At that time, Mu-young grabbed his neck and tried to stop his breathing so Taben could only remember Mu-young with hatred and fear. Then his body disappeared, and with it Taben the memories too when he took a breath. He wonders what he is doing there, and he runs away to escape Mu-young. Months later, Taben found Dongtae, who he wanted to change his life and start the game again. Taben finally remembers everything is gone, saying that it looks like he still hasn't collected the ranking dice. All his memories were not fully recovered. Taben realizes that he has the 3 abilities that Dawn said before. Mu-young wakes up, he will defeat him and end this game once and for all. Dawn already has the ability to levitate. Kim, who is hiding there, decides who he will choose. He also has the ability to levitate. Mio runs towards the storage room to catch Kim and has the clairvoyance ability. Unju, who went with Mio, had the cloaking ability dice that had not been rolled. X calculated that all 6 ranked dice came in one place. If things went well, it seemed someone might be an S ranker today. Dongtae gets a message from Mio and reads it while fighting Daiwang and Sam. Dawn says she can't wait any longer, and she will end the game now. Dongtae is busy reading the message that Mio sent, and looks worried when Sam attacks him from behind, but he dodges it. Meanwhile, Daiwang ran towards him. Dongtae hears the sound of his footsteps and gets alert, but Daiwang kicks him and throws him away. Sam uses the opportunity and teleports him to attack him from above, where he barely manages to escape. Daiwang laughs and says how long he can manage to dodge, especially when he can't see him. Daiwang asks Sam if you want to bet on who gets the ability time break. Dongtae worries, thinking about how Unju got ranked because he never liked dice, and what's wrong about Taeben. Dongtae couldn't waste time here, but he didn't have any more dice left to use the time lag. Dawn beats Taeben. He asks him to stop and says that they are not friends. Dawn asks him why the Muyong didn't show up and why his attack team sign is flashing. Taeben says it's impossible, as he chose neutral. Dawn getting that Muyong chose to be the attack team. Dawn tells him that she's on the assault team too. Still, Taeben can't believe that he is being controlled by Muyong, and everything he did until now was to wake him up. Dawn says even if she doesn't believe anything, it won't change the truth. Dawn decides for this end she activates the 3rd level of her skill and traps him in it. The more Taeben moves, the more it hurts him. The dice started falling from his body. Mio and Unju came into the room and asked where Kim was, but they were shocked to see the scene there. Kim, who was hiding, looked at Unju and realized that he was not a dice player. Unju asked Dawn if he was Mu Young. Mio tells him that he can see more of Taeben's profile. Mio asks the person inside Taeben who he is. At the same time, Kim grabbed Unju from behind, pointing a knife at her neck, and asked everyone to put their hands on their heads. Unju asked Kim not to do this just because of the dice. Kim called him rude and punched him in the stomach, and he got hurt. Mio moved forward to attack him, but stopped as it might be dangerous for Unju, saying that she was fine. Mio thinks he's not helping because he has useless abilities. Kim kicks him, and he falls in the gravity zone. Dawn says she doesn't know who he is, but she can't escape this zone, because it will hurt her if she moves, so she has to stay still. Mio is angry, but she can't do anything. Kim calls Dawn, and says she wants to work with her. Elsewhere, Daiwang again runs to attack Dongtae, but he once again blocks his attack and pushes him back. Daiwang wondered if he couldn't see how he could block his attack. He started activating the sprinkles so he couldn't see Daiwang now. Daiwang was worried as his cloaking was useless now, and told him it was still 2 against 1, so there was no need to worry. They both run to attack Dongtae together, but he stays silent. Elsewhere, Kim says that she heard everything while she was hiding. He heard Mu Young and Taeben were one person, and he rolled the dice and made this school a mess. Unju was surprised to hear that and asked Taeben if that was true. Mio thinks that the situation is getting worse, but if the dice that Unju has can change the situation if he hands it to her. At Dongtae's place, somehow when the 2 attackers closed in on each other, he ran away from there to avoid them all at once. Both of them are shocked. Dongtae starts throwing punches at an after rate and pushes the wound back very quickly. The speed with which he and Sam were destroying the sprinkler wall had stopped. Daiwang stands up and says his endurance is high, so a blow like that isn't enough to defeat him. Then the sprinklers stopped, so he couldn't see it. Dongtae tells him that his zipper is down. He is shocked and runs away from there because he couldn't use his ability for some time. He checks his phone and is shocked to see how much the number of victims has increased. X tells him there are 8 attackers there and not everyone is present in the auditorium. He starts heading to the storage room. X asks if he doesn't want to end Sam, as it could lower the target's body count. Dongtae says he doesn't have time to play his game anymore. Sam considers it his insult and decides that he will reach first to get revenge. She tells him to use the dice reinforcement as it will still work without equipping the dice. Dawn asks why he had to include her in her team. Kim replies that they both have the same abilities and can help each other to get the final dice together. She tells him that X will not give the final dice as a prize obtained by dying. Instead of X has started collecting the dice that have been scattered. Unju goes into shock. Mio thinks if that's true, it means X currently has the power to change the world, and he can do whatever he can to wish the target's body count is increased. On the other hand, Teacher Chun isn't breathing as well as Sam teleports himself on his way to the storage room to stop Dongtae. Mio asks Unju to give her the cloaking dice. Kim heard him and started checking his pockets and asked where he hid the dice. That Unju asked him to stop and tried to refuse, and her phone also fell on the ground. Seeing this, Mio tries to escape from the zone to help her, even becomes in pain herself. X asks him to roll the dice while Dongtae is on his way to the storage room. Kim was crazy inside, wanting to get dice, and his touch made her uncomfortable. Enju asks him to stop, but he slaps her. She asks Taeben to save him, but he just asks her if she really has the dice. Taeben asks her to give them to him. Unju understood that it was Muyang who was talking, that he raised his hand carrying the dice and asked everyone to stop. Unju asked X if he were a dice player, if he could really stop this all. X said yes. He would be stronger than all because of his special desire. But the original Unju will lose his desire to make his enemies for all dice players until he is the last person to stand as a criminal. Mio thought about getting the dice, but she also couldn't move from the gravity zone. At the same time, Sam enters the room. Dawn asks him to teleport and get the dice, but he says he can't teleport, but he runs to get the dice. He ends up throwing the dice. Kim leaves him and runs to catch them, but the dice is rolled. X congratulates her and transfers her lentil skills to Unju. Unju uses a new skill and disappears. Mr. Unju is given the new skill psychokinesis. Unju started moving everything in the room. She directed all the chairs towards her. Kim runs and tries to hide but gets hit by a chair and falls. She asks him to stop and apologizes, keeping him as a hostage. But Unju threw all the chairs at him. The rest of the people in the room were scared seeing his strength. Kim has died in the dice he scattered there. Unju went there and took the dice. Mio asks X what he did for her, is that she can't change everything. Suddenly he tells her that he didn't do anything determined by the potential dice of desire, so he who did it all quest. It may seem simple, but it is not simple for him. Sam holds a knife to Mio's head and asks Unju to stop her friend from dying. Unju threw a chair at him and pushed him away from Mio. X laughs that he just wasted his dice, protect him because Unju could kill both of them and take their dice. X tells him to get rid of them as a way he can get the last dice quickly. Dawn warns Mio that she will go to become her friend's target because she is not in her right mind. Mio was shocked to see that Unju was going to attack her. Unju threw a chair towards it, but instead of Mio, she threw them at Dawn. As Dawn tries to block, but he goes right through her and hits her. Dawn survived one hit, but couldn't take more jumps. Sam was among them to save, but because he was already weak, he died on the spot. Mio asks him to stop, the fight ends, but then wonders if he plans to kill them too. X asks him to finish it quickly. No more sacrifices. The chair goes to Taeben. Dongtae enters the room and is shocked to see her. Dongtae shouted Unju's name, and just like that, Unju came back to his senses. When Unju regains consciousness, a chair just passes by, giving Taeben an injury to his head and it bleeds. Mio asks if he is okay and moves forward to help him. Turns Unju his ability, and all the chairs fall down. Dongtae sees all the destruction and wonders if he did it all. Unju used cloaking and ran from there. Mio tells him that when he rolled the dice, he was the one who did it all to change the world with the final dice. Dongtae says he will chase him. Dongtae doesn't believe that a dice player can improve his skills so quickly. Mio asks him that he mentioned before that X has the power to change the world, so what did he change? Mio asks her to share if she knows anything. Dawn takes her teleport dice while walking away. She tells Mio a while ago, fellow dice player, and she strengthens clairvoyance skill and looks into X. Mio asks what they saw. He asks her to see for him if he can protect her abilities, then he leaves the room. Dongtae looks for her but can't hear her footsteps anymore. He looks in the music room as he likes to go there, but it's empty. While walking into the corridor, Dongtae saw through the window that Unju was standing on the roof. Mio looked for cloth or bandages to stop Taeben's bleeding. He checked his phone to check about the third quest, and found that it was stopped. Dongtae reached the roof and called him from behind. Dongtae asks him not to do anything dangerous and talk to him. Hyunju said it wasn't like that. Dongtae asks why he became a dice player, especially when he hates dice so much. Unju tells him that once he saved her there, she was grateful he saved her. Then Unju said he didn't want the school to change, and when did he say that Dongtae spread the dice? Part of him wanted to blame it all on him, but now he knew how the dice rolled. Unju apologized to him, saying that everything happened because of the dice, so he would get rid of every dice user. Dongtae asks if he is serious about it. Unju tells him that he will become an S ranker and will eliminate dice from this world. Dongtae says he can't go back to the past. He says that the dice aren't so bad, it's because of the dice that he gained the confidence to talk to him. Suddenly his cell phone rings and the barrier starts to disappear. X has terminated the quest. Students ran out of school. Tae-bin disappeared suddenly. Unju said that X told him if he became a dice player he would end the war quest. Dongtae asks him how he can believe so strongly that the dice should be crushed. He asked her if she really didn't know what kind of event was caused by the dice. He said that he was sorry for that, but the dice had to be destroyed. A few weeks later, Dongtae was traveling on a bus. He checked his phone, which gave him an alert of a ranker who was close by. Dongtae comes out of the bus at the amusement park and stops him to find Mio, who places his backpack in a locker. It was Sunday. Dongtae came to the amusement park and saw Mio with some backpacks. Dongtae asks him what he does with them. He asked her to look away and put the bags in the cabin. Then he carried them and moved forward. Dongtae checks the message on his phone and says he didn't realize when it came. It was a warning message from the ranker being nearby. Dongtae scolds him for being stupid because too many dice players are looking for ability, so he should be careful. Dongtae asks him to relax, and they go to buy entrance tickets to the park. Mio was happy because it wasn't too crowded here, and she could take all the rides. Dongtae thinks about the time the quest ended that day, and there was no winner because officially both teams had the same score, but X gave them that advantage. An alarm will ring when a ranker comes within 100 meters to alert them, but will not tell them their exact location. But it will indicate the player's ability. With these rules, it will be possible to target rare abilities. Dongtae used to think that Mio was in danger because of her abilities. Mio brings him ice cream. Mio tells him that while he was leaving, some people asked him for his number, but he told them he had a girlfriend. Dongtae is shy after hearing this. He says it's so nice to think that they don't have to go to school even after the weekend because of the temporary break. Inside the park, they took lots of rides and pictures and had fun. It was night, and he was tired, but he said they still had to take one last ride of the Ferris wheel. Mio suddenly asks if Dongtae should tell her something when he invited her there. Dongtae and Mio queue to get a seat. She tells him that she suffers from acrophobia, is afraid of heights. Dongtae says he should have said this before they entered the compartment. He remembers that he told her that he would give her the answer at the amusement park. Now Mio probably wanted that answer. Mio asks if Dongtae settled on something with Unju as he chases her. At that time, Dongtae said they talked, and he told her that being a ranker meant to fight other rankers until she deafened him, asking if he really wanted to do that. He replies his hand is bleeding and he got 3 dice already. He just has to get 3 more to try to get the last dice. He said that he knew Dongtae had a break. Dongtae asked to fight then, but then Unju said sorry, he wanted to refrain from stealing dice, and he said he would push back until the last possible moment. He said that was the last time he faced him and talking to him. Mio says that it's hard to believe he went near the glass door and tells him that he was always afraid of heights, as the ground under his feet would suddenly disappear, and he would fall, and everyone would discover that he was nothing. Mio asks if Dongtae doesn't also think she's ugly and fake. Without the dice, she doesn't exist. It was Dongtae who told him that he was fair. Mio told him that she used to like Dongtae even when he didn't change. Her cheeks turned red after hearing this. Dongtae asks him how Mio could like him. No one in the world wants a bread shuttler. They come back. Dongtae asks her if she wants to ride the merry-go-round. Dongtae replied that only a princess could ride a white horse. He said, if they both wanted to be born with ugly looks, no dice could fix what he was about to say. Dongtae asks him not to call him fake and ugly again, as he will make sure that the dice never lose. Dongtae asks Mio not to worry about the loss of the dice because he doesn't want to let that happen. Here Mio asks if Dongtae is aiming for rank S too. Dongtae says he doesn't think that X is just toying with everyone, and he would never give up the final dice that easily. It is said that there are still many dice players with hidden abilities. If they make alliances with others to protect them, they can stop someone from becoming S rank by using their power. Mio says that means he is trying to prevent the birth of an S rank. Dongtae says that it is the only way to defeat Tae-bin. He thought he should use the teleport dice as bait. Unju thinks that the dice are a disaster, but he thinks that the fault lies with X and not the dice. If he could only overthrow X, so with the help of the last dice, they would be able to create an ideal world for everyone. Before returning, Mio asked him to say what Dongtae wanted to say. Here, Dongtae finally tells her that he likes Mio, and asks her if Mio would date him. Mio grabbed him and kissed him right on the lips as fireworks appeared. While going home on the bus, Dongtae asked Mio what the backpack was for. Mio tells Dongtae that she has run away from home. It gives him a jolt of 100 volts, and he jumps from his seat. At a dump where X was playing alone, he drew something on the ground with chalk. A girl holding a doll in her hands comes to him and asks what he's doing. X excitedly shows him the pictures of his superpowers. X asks her which one she will choose, while she excitedly tells him the details of each power he told her about. But the girl said that she couldn't play with X anymore. X looks at him and asks why that is. She says they are going somewhere. He gets upset and asks if she wants her doll. X said he didn't need it, but the girl threw it and asked him to take it. Then he ran away, saying goodbye. Meanwhile, X lives in a village where no one else lives anywhere except him. His drunk father, who used to beat him every day, he used to say that X was like his dead mother. One night, X ran away from home. His father called him back, but he kept running. He was injured and bleeding. He stopped and looked at the sky as if it was strange. His father reached and caught him. His father hit X when something fell from the sky. It was a dice that shone brightly like the sun. X took one, and suddenly strange noise began to come from the inside, that the voice said that he had the final dice and he could change the world. The voice asks X what he wants, and X asks that he wants someone to play with him forever. Elsewhere, Dongtae is in a strange place he has never seen before. There he saw a boy whose face was towards the wall, and he kept saying, "Hide, hide, hide, make sure no one appears." Dongtae approaches the boy and asks him what he's doing. The boy turns his face and says he has found him. When Dongtae woke up from his dream after midnight, he sat up and wondered what kind of dream it was. But suddenly he looked to the side and found Mio sleeping there. He wondered how it ended like this. A few hours ago, while carrying his backpack, Dongtae asked Mio if she would really stay in his house, as there was only one room and no bed, so it would be uncomfortable for him. Next, Dongtae asks why he left his house, and if his parents won't worry about him. Mio says they won't worry about him at all. Mio asks him if someone is at his house. Dongtae said no one except his mother stopped by every few nights. He said if they met, he could use time interval to control the situation. Mio says if Dongtae doesn't want her to stay there, he'll find someone on a chat app who's willing to accommodate a teenage girl. Dongtae asks Mio not to do this and says she can stay at his place. After arriving home, Mio went to take a shower, while Dongtae stood outside and thought about what happened next. His brain burned thinking about if something like that happened between them. But then he controlled his emotions and thought like that his first priority is to protect Mio and gather ranks to join the fight against X. After a while, Mio comes out of the bathroom and says Dongtae can take a shower now. Seeing Mio like this made Dongtae's face red again. While taking a shower, Dongtae thought about what would happen after that. He slapped his face and tried to stay focused. Suddenly he heard a cell phone ring. He turned around and saw it. Mio forgot her cell phone and clothes here. He looked at the screen and saw a large number of calls and messages there. Mio asks if Dongtae can give her his cell phone and clothes. Dongtae handed over his things while hiding behind the door. Mio calls him again and says she'll spread the blanket. Dongtae thought that he wanted to make it and was preparing for it, so he hurried to finish cleaning. When Dongtae comes out, he finds that Mio has slept. Dongtae asks him if he's really sleeping or just pretending. Dongtae felt awkward when he thought Mio wanted that, so he just got under the blanket and started staring at the ceiling. Dongtae wanted to get closer, but he was afraid that Mio might get angry. He finally found the courage and turned his face towards her. Dongtae was sure that a fist would come towards his face at any moment, as Mio would get angry. But nothing happened. In the meantime, Dongtae asks him if Mio is really awake, and if it's okay to come a little closer. Mio didn't respond at all. When thoughts about Unju come to Dongtae and he opens his eyes, he closes his thoughts about it again, saying he should focus on Mio, as she is his girlfriend now, and so on. Dongtae's uncontrollable emotions touch Mio, and Mio wakes up asking him what he was trying to do. Dongtae sits up in shock and says he suddenly started feeling cold, so he thought about sharing a blanket with her, asking her if there weren't any more blankets there. Dongtae asks Mio if she doesn't like being next to him. Mio says it's not that she doesn't like it, and continues asking him if there was a time when Dongtae and Unju ended up fighting over the ranking dice, would he do it? Then Dongtae reminds him that he already collected 3 dice and he definitely came for his abilities too. Here Mio asks Dongtae to answer who he will protect later, if war breaks out between Unju and Mio. Dongtae didn't know what to answer, and he became silent. Mio went back to sleep. She also got into the blanket, and thought if it was up to her, she would do it not wanting either of them to get hurt. But if a time like that would come, Would she be able to hurt Unju? The next day in the morning, Mio tried to wake Dongtae, but he said he wanted to sleep again. Suddenly, Dongtae realizes that he is not alone at home and wakes up. He saw Mio preparing breakfast for them. Dongtae tells her that the breakfast was delicious. He feels like they are really a couple now. After that, Mio tells Dongtae that she will get ready as they have to go to school today. Since the war quest, the school has changed completely. The building was destroyed, and many students suffered minor injuries. The school tried to hide the situation as best as they could, because they couldn't explain the dice and the whereabouts of X couldn't be found. The entire incident was blamed on an unknown entity, and both suspects were pronounced dead. One attacker managed to escape. Mr. Chun was still in hospital. Taeben had disappeared without any explanation, and Unju had also left and could not be found in the choir room. Mio finds Dongtae and asks him to go to the field as the principal will assign them schools, while the principal makes a speech and says the school will be closed for construction purposes, and the students will be assigned to 6 different schools meanwhile. Suddenly, all the students' cell phones start ringing. It was X, and he gave them a new quest. He said whoever will go and hit a blow to the principal will get 10 dice as a prize, and with that, all the greedy students ran towards the principal while pushing each other to win the prize achieved. The students were there and were about to throw a punch, but Dongtae clenched his fist. The man asks Dongtae to let him go, so Dongtae pushes him back down the stairs. Dongtae looks at the speaker and asks X to stop sending boring quests like that and stop using dice for this kind of thing. X answered who he thought he was ordering whether he didn't need dice. Dongtae says it's not like he created the dice, he's just the game administrator. Dongtae asks if he is done with the last dice. X was hysterical. Suddenly she asked angrily to whom she was speaking arrogantly if he wanted to be deleted too. X removes the last quest and gives them all a new quest to kill Dongtae. The students gather around Dongtae but are afraid to attack him as he has a time delay ability. X told them that he only had a few dice and implanted him he would not be able to use time lag. After that, Dongtae says, how about they stop this boring bickering as he does something more fun. Dongtae asks what if they make a bet. X asks what kind of bet he is talking about. After a while, Mio told Dongtae that she was really worried when Dongtae taunted X. At that time, Dongtae apologized to her because his bet had put Mio in danger too. Mio says she trusts him, and if his plan works, they will be able to corner meanwhile. They as students have been divided into 6 schools. It becomes more difficult to find them. Then Dongtae asked Mio which school they had been sent to. Mio says they have been sent to the first private high school. Dongtae was shocked to hear that because there were several people who were definitely his friends, who had previously mocked and bullied him, even saying that Dongtae's life would never change. As they enter the new school, Mio asks why he looks so nervous. Dongtae says it's nothing. Some students of that school tried to find worthy students from the crowd, as in their opinion public school students were bad. The school administration welcomed them and told them that they would have mixed classes. During their short visit here, the students of this school thought that it was annoying to divide their class to adjust to the new students. One of them said that it was a good thing because they could crash transfer students and use it to relatively increase their GPAs. Once the students get satisfied, all the newcomers go to their classes. Mio asks why Dongtae walks so stiffly. Mio calls his name and says that their class is after this. Listening to Dongtae's name, the trio of private school students wondered if he was the same Dongtae who was with them in middle school. One of them runs outside to beat Dongtae, hoping that he is the same person, but when he sees him, he thinks that he is someone else. He says sorry because he had mistaken him for someone else, and goes back to class. Dongtae calls him from behind and says he is the same person who was with them in high school. The fat guy says that it's impossible as he's tall and handsome, while the Dongtae he knows is whiny, short, and has a runny nose and dark circles and is weak. Mio gets the reason why Dongtae is so worried. Dongtae tells him that his name is Yoongeon, the rabbit-toothed guy's name is Jungchul, and the glasses guy is Youngnam. During middle school he used to be their slave, and then they separated with Youngnam shocked to find out that he was the real Dongtae. Private school students are shocked to realize that the transfer students are all tall and handsome. The transfer students are all waiting for new quests, but X hasn't sent any quests. Previously, the teacher asked everyone to put away their books as they had a test today. Jungnam says that Dongtae may be handsome, but he can never be good at studying, so he will use test results to show him his true place. But Dongtae is busy thinking about how to find other ranker students. The test papers were handed out. Youngnam also received them and found them a bit complicated. Jung-eun asks for his help, but he says he's busy crushing those stupid transfer students. The test starts, and they only get 15 minutes to complete it. It had only been 5 minutes, but the transfer students had already cracked the test and were lying down with their heads down. Even the teacher was shocked to see that. Dongtae is busy planning how to gather the other A rankers. He remembered the time when asked X to bet. Dongtae asked him that the prize of this game is the last dice, and to get that an S ranker must fulfill the boss's rules. Taebin and Unju have played according to the rules, but Dongtae wants to finish the game without becoming an S ranker. Instead, Dongtae will do it by gathering 6 people with 6 different abilities. Dr. Dongtae says it must look difficult, that's why he put forward the bet. But if he succeeds, X will have to show himself to all of them. Dongtae says he wants to land a hit on him. X laughed so hard it hurt to hear it. X accepted the bet and said he did not need to gather 6 people because he would not be able to collect even half if he gathered for a ranker. X will appear in front of him, but if he fails, he will lay open the quest for all dice players to tear apart and humiliate him, and anyone who follows him. X says he always knew that Dongtae was different, but how will he gather the rankers when they scatter to different schools today? Meanwhile, back to the present, it's time to announce the test results. The teacher says that all the transfer students have gotten perfect scores overall. The school students are surprised to find that their new peers are as smart as Jungnam is now worrying about his GPAs. Now they all gather around Dongtae and ask him the secret to being so good. Jungnam gets jealous and says he can't take this insult. Junggun said the idea of the next period from the gym. Jungnam said that he would take revenge in this period as Dongtae was always weak in the gym. When he heard that the next period was gym, he remembered the memory of gym period in middle school. Mio tells him that she's heading out, and that she hastily put her notebook on the table and forgot to take out her phone, which alerted her about the presence of the dice ranker. They are already at the starting line for the race. When they get a signal, they all run, but Dongtae runs with maximum agility and gets first place. Jungnam is far behind and has cramps in his legs. He says that he must take revenge on the other subjects at all costs. But Dongtae proved himself to be an excellent candidate in all subjects, and even in basketball. Everyone asks him how he is so clever, everything. Dongtae feels special and realizes how Taebin feels when he comes to their school. A girl comes to him and asks him to bring her juice, but Dongtae says he can't accept it. He has a girlfriend who doesn't like the presence of girls around him. Dongtae will look at Mio and wave, but Mio leaves from there. Jungnam has decided to take revenge using Mio. He asked Junggun to gather some skilled boys from each class. Mio ran and got out of the school boundaries. Then she stopped and thought about why she ran from there, just because the girl looked like Unju, but she wasn't. Mio, why is she so stressed about her appearance when she isn't that fat girl anymore? Suddenly she heard a voice coming from behind. Mio turned around and saw 3 boys standing there. They planned to arrest him. Junggun goes into the classroom and gives a boy money and says that Jungnam needs the boy to show the transfer student where he belongs. Suddenly he saw a man and asked him to come along, but the man refused, saying that he was not interested in their childish games anymore. The guy says that they will give him more money than last time, but he says it's good like that. The boys take their bats to beat, with one guy placing a note for Dongtae on his desk. They all gather on the roof. When Dongtae comes to class, he finds that Mio is not here. He finds the note and worries if it is from Ranker. Then he reached the roof, but when he saw Jungnam and his men, he let out a sigh of relaxation because there was nothing to worry about. Jungnam tells him that he can't run now. Dongtae asks where Mio is. Junggun tells him that there is no news from the boys who went to kidnap Mio. Dongtae says he will go back to Jungnam lies and says they have him held hostage elsewhere, and his men will harm him on his orders. Dongtae comes back and says he's been avoiding them, but if they want to get beaten, he'll give them what they want. They all attack Dongtae at the same time, but he stands up to calm them down. On the other hand, 3 boys approach him and say Dongtae can't run anywhere now. Mio looked behind her and there was a wall, so she really couldn't run. They look at her miniskirt and say that it's not their fault that they can't keep their hands off her, it's just that she's so beautiful. Mio asks they tried to rape her just because she was beautiful. They say yes. They ask him not to tell anyone what will happen between them. Mio says she won't, but they have to make the same promise too. Then Mio started beating them. On the other hand, Dongtae teaches lessons to his subordinate boys. Jungnam can't believe his eyes. He asks Jungchul to go next, but he says he doesn't want to get beaten up. He throws his money there and runs away. While Junggun says he will show Dongtae his real place and runs at him attacking, but he just throws him away. Jungnam asks her if she is taking revenge from him for what he did to her in middle school. Dongtae says it's real because he was the one who called him here. Jungnam asks him to stay away from him while he still has his friend Dongtae as a hostage. Dongtae tells her that she is lying as the girl is too strong. Even she can't beat Mio. The blue-haired man also came there and saw this happen. Jungnam asks how he could change everything about him in 2 years. Dongtae says it's just hard work. Jungnam says hard work can't change genetics. Dongtae asks if Jungnam wants to play games. Dongtae gives him the dice and says he can change anything with these dice. But Jungnam pushes his hand and the dice fall and get rolled. Jungnam says he is not a fool to believe him. Dongtae took the dice and went back. It turns out that Jungnam took the cutter and ran towards him to stab him in the back. The blue-haired man asked Dongtae to watch out, so he turned around. Dongtae dodges his attack, but because of the momentum, Jungnam moves forward and is about to fall down the stairs. To save her from being unwanted, Dongtae activates the time-lapse. Dongtae was angry because he still tore his shirt. Dongtae grabbed it and threw it back. Jungnam asks him to stay away from him. Dongtae grabs her and is about to throw a punch, but she apologizes to him. At the same time during time break, the blue-haired guy moved and was trying to escape from there, but Dongtae caught him moving and asked who he was. Dongtae understands he's a time-lapse user too. The man ran far away. Dongtae says that he just wants to talk. She tries to chase him, but he just disappears. Elsewhere, Mio saw him and waved. By calling her name, Dongtae came to Mio and asked where she was from. Mio says it's a secret as he promises to stay quiet. She tells him that he has a jackpot like this. Money falls from the sky when he moves. Ignoring her conversation, Dongtae tells her that he found a ranker, and above him is a time lag user. On the way back home, Dongtae was thinking about how to find him again. Dongtae says they have to look for him, and he can see through him. Mio tells him that he can see basically anyone's profile without activating the dice. Let's just say it's a huge library around him, and he can see the name of every book. But if he wants to select specific ones to search in depth, he needs the dice too. Mio can see data that existed previously but is not available now. He activated his ability to see footprints, but there were also many, so he couldn't use it. Mio notices activating the camera, so she sees it recording and finds him. They run towards it to catch him. The person entered a dark street and asked X who the other time-lapse user was. X tells him it's possible. X says he's there to catch the dice. X couldn't tell much about Dongtae, but the man had to know that Dongtae was skilled in fighting. The blue-haired man said he would defend his dice at all costs. They stopped at the point where there was no more footage of him on camera. X warns about the presence of a ranker nearby. They both wonder how a ranker could be there, in the hospital. Mio saw him enter the hospital, so they chased him and went inside. The man went to the reception and asked the nurse about the caretaker's condition. The receptionist called him Suk-soon and said that the nanny was fine. Now he goes to the patient's room. Mio and Dongtae come to the receptionist and ask if she saw any school kids here. The nurse asks if they are Suk-soon's friends. She tells them the number of the room she went to. As they both head to the room, Mio gets an alert about another ranker's presence. Suddenly they saw Unju coming from the other side holding flowers in her hand. The three of them looked at each other and called their names. Heard a sound from outside the room. Suk-soon also came out of the room. Suk-soon asks them who they are and how they found him. Suk-soon asks if they all worked as a team against him. Unju wondered what the man was talking about. He looked a little nervous and worried about something Mio told him that they weren't here to fight. Suk-soon doesn't listen to anything and attacks him, but Dongtae defends Suk-soon's attack again, but Dongtae backs off. He says that he is here to talk, but Suk-soon says he doesn't want to hear anything. Unju asks X who the man is. X tells him that he is a ranker with time pause, an ability he needs to collect. Mio tells him that they are here for ally with him, but the girl behind him is an enemy who wants to take his dice. Unju says that's true and he needs the dice to get rid of the dice. Suk-soon immediately says he won't give up his dice and runs to attack Unju, but Unju uses psychokinesis to save himself. Suk-soon is shocked to see his different abilities while Dongtae grabs him from behind and asks him to stop, but Suk-soon throws Dongtae against the wall. Hearing all the noises, a woman ran out of the room and grabbed Suk-soon and asked him to stop fighting. Suk-soon calls her Nani and asks her to come back as it is dangerous here. Nani reminds him that she promised not to fight again. She apologizes to Dongtae and says she doesn't know about this matter, but please stop fighting. Dongtae said he didn't fight with Suk-soon. Mio also said that Dongtae tried to stop the fight, so he apologized to Mio too. Mio sees the patient's bare feet and gown and guesses that Nani is sick. The nurse comes there, walks, and sees the damage, and asks if Suksun made the mess. The nurse checks Dongtae's back to see if he has any injuries, but is surprised to see he's fine. He wants existing patients to be as healthy as Dongtae. Dongtae asks about Nani's relationship with Suksun. After a few moments of walking in the door, Dongtae knows that Nani is Suksun's girlfriend, and Suksun is the only person who has cared for him for years. Dongtae goes to him to talk to get him out of there. Meanwhile, Mio and Unju are in Mr. Chun's room. When he is here to visit him, Unju says that Mr. Chun is only lying here because of the dice. Mio asks if that's his justification for hunting rankers. Unju says yes, and he's glad he found another dice player with time-lapse abilities, as now he doesn't have to face Dongtae. Mio says they won't let it happen. Unju says that he has the ability to see, and he already knows that they can't stop him. On the other hand, after listening to Dongtae, Suksun says he understands his position, but he can't ally with him because he needs to produce more dice, so he can't oppose X. Before leaving the room, Mio tells him that in their next meeting she will throw the first punch at Unju. Dongtae meets Mio and tells her everything that she doubts some other reasons too, so they should continue to investigate. Suksun was sitting near Nani's bed. He told her that she would be fine while placing some dice in her hand, which fell from her hand and rolled. By rolling the dice, he bought a temporary relief of health for him. Suksun hugs him and says he will never leave him. A few months ago, they both left class again, and students gossiped about them. Suksun is a student with special talents, but Nani is not the legitimate child of his father, who is a representative at a large company. Nani and Suksun are wandering around the park. Nani asks him if it is all right for such a class girl. He says he doesn't like those girls gossiping about her parents as she never saw her father. Suddenly, Nani asks him if he is with her because her father is a rich man. Suksun immediately said he didn't care about such things. He asked her out because he liked her. Nani asks what Suksun likes especially about him. Suksun thought and said if he had to choose one thing, it would be his hair, which he likes the most. Nani asks why the hair. He says, because they fly so lightly and they smell nice. But unfortunately, Nani shaved her own head when she had cancer. Nani says Suksun must hate him now like he loves his hair. But no, he doesn't have them. Suksun says that beanies suit him and look better on him. Doctors said that Nani was suffering from a genetic disease similar to leukemia. He says Nani will be given chemotherapy for now, but the actual treatment will start after he reports he is her guardian and pays all the bills. Since they couldn't find her family, Nani wonders why of all, she is the one who is sick. She considers it a punishment for sins, to which Suksun tells her that Nani didn't do anything wrong. It's just because of her little bad luck that the situation keeps getting worse. The doctor told him that chemo didn't work and Nani needed a bone marrow transplant, but they needed a matching donor first. That's when he felt the most unlucky person, except through a play of fate. Luck brought him on the dice. Then he comes out of shock safely unless his condition is unstable. The operation had failed, and there was only one option, and that was that they had to find a donor. The nurse told him that the medical bills had not yet been paid. Suksun feels helpless. He is about to go home to change clothes, when he hears some boys making fun of him and Nani. Suddenly he hears a noise, and sees that a boy from another school is stabbing a woman with a knife. He looked for more people to stab them. Suksun immediately pushed her from behind, and she fell forward, but she ran from there and hid in the street. Suksun chases him and finds him, but he attacks him and gives him a wound, and Suksun punches him and throws him away. He looks at the message on his phone and wonders what it is. He tells the officer he has caught a criminal. The officer takes him away, but he keeps asking for dice. Suksun gets a call from the hospital that they have found a donor. He became happy, but before injecting new cells they had to kill his older cells, and therefore he was kept in isolation. Suksun held the dice in his hand and thought about what they were. While he was busy thinking about dice, Suksun called his nurse from behind and told her that the police were looking for him. He goes to the police station where he is given a certificate of honor for assisting the police in arresting the previous boy, which he sends the picture to Nani, hoping she will be shocked and will lecture him. As no reply came for a while, he thought that Nani might be sleeping at that time. On the other hand, the condition is getting worse. When he took off his clothes, Suksun accidentally threw the dice and became a dice player. X healed her wound using dice. She was shocked to find that such an ability actually exists. X tells him that it's not like Aladdin's magic lamp, it's a game to be played by the rules. Most people can use dice only on themselves, but he can give the dice he got, then he can use them on himself. Suddenly he remembered the quest he saw on their guy's phone, and said he wouldn't have done such crazy things that X told him if he really thought he could receive such blessings without any risk while they were around. After this conversation, Suksun gets a call from the hospital. They tell him that Nani's condition is getting worse. Once he went there while running, the doctor told him that he is suffering from blood poisoning. Soon he might be shifted to ICU. While sitting outside, Suksun asked. He found an old man who was struggling to pick up a stack of papers. He offered him help and took the stack and started going upstairs. The old man was behind him when he reached the last stair. Suksun pushed him down. The old man fell and died. Suksun thinks about what he has done. He runs away and goes to dark empty street. X gave him a gift and said he could save him the life of a precious person. He was still in surprise, but he needed the dice. When she got to the hospital, a doctor asked her if she was Nani's guardian. HR tells him that Nani is sleeping and coming out of consciousness, and her body temperature is not dropping, and they can't do the transplant in this condition. Suksun tries to go into the isolation room, but it is locked. He grabbed the doctor's ID and forced his way in. He asked X if he gave him the dice he was okay. X tells him that first he has to agree to use the dice, otherwise it won't work. Suksun entered his room, and seeing him he tried to move forward, but the doctor pushed him back and asked him to come out. So he moved his arm forward and handed the dice to him. As they fell from his hand, they rolled away and he became a dice player. Suksun asks if he can hear. Nani just needs to say that he will use it. Even in her subconscious mind, Nani heard it and said those words, and suddenly she got a better gift where Nani had opened her eyes again. Mio tells Dongtae that the girl they met is also a dice player. He asked if it was possible to cure diseases with dice. Dongtae said it was impossible because dice couldn't get rid of disease, but they could heal someone's stamina. He said if we consider this a game, the girl's current status is poison, and to cure the poison requires an antidote. But if they rely on healing potions instead, the antidote doesn't wear off, and it will kill in the end. Dongtae says it doesn't matter how many dice he uses, the disease will come back soon. He's still sick, because he used less dice this time. Nani says he doesn't need anything more than Suksun is next to him. Suksun immediately realizes that is not a permanent cure for him. His transplant disease also failed, and the chemotherapy didn't work well, but the dice were able to give him temporary relief, so he continued to do more quests to buy this miracle. Suksun needs more dice, so she asks X for more quests, but he tells her there are no more quests. Dongtae still doesn't understand why Suksun is so sensitive when it comes to these dice, but he knows that they have to prepare for the worst-case scenario in a dense urban area in the city of Seoul. You can see many vehicles passing by in the city. In a city that looks quite elite, many office workers are walking to their workplace, and each of them walked across the sidewalk with a serious look and looked like they were in a hurry. Then, on the urban side, 2 girls were seen having lunch at a cafe. They ate and drank and chatted with each other. However, when they were having fun chatting with each other, suddenly one of them received a message from his cell phone. At first, they thought that a man had sent a text message. However, it turned out that the emergency notification was sent directly from the Republic of Korea's Ministry of Defense, and a warning message said that there was currently an emergency and requires every resident to evacuate to a safer place, and this is not training. Therefore, everyone who receives this message must follow the instructions from the Ministry of Defense to protect themselves. However, the friend decided that the message might have been sent to him by mistake. But at the same time, the second girl received the same message, and everyone sitting in the cafe started to panic. Then at the same time, a very loud siren began broadcasting an emergency announcement throughout the city. Then at the same time, suddenly an unusual creature appeared in the sky. The creature that appeared in the sky looked similar to a fairly large purple octopus. But at the same time, the girl was still looking up at the sky from the appearance of the huge octopus. However, while he was looking at it, suddenly the monster's eyes opened and made him scared, and then after that, a presenter delivers the news that the global portal invasion had been going on for 15 days. A state of emergency has been declared across the country, and heads of state had gathered in America to fight the invasion. According to their military, to be effective in eliminating these monsters, every occupant must be secured first. Therefore, it is highly recommended to evacuate as soon as possible, but after that, in an apartment where the news was shown, a green monster ate the owner of the apartment. And this monster is not like the ones that appear in the sky. They are green and look like dogs. Then suddenly a grenade flew into the room and the military started shooting at the creature. but the bullet did not have any effect on the monster. Then after that, one of the military fought the creature. However, Kim's army did not start shooting because he understood that it was pointless. But the other soldiers assured us that we should keep shooting him. But the monster attacked again. Soldiers lay down in hopes of avoiding the attack. But one of the soldiers made a powerful attack and made something like a big explosion. And the aftermath of the attack left the commander unconscious for a long time. But thanks to his subordinates, he still managed to wake up. He was surprised that he was still alive. The soldier has a question about whether anyone is injured. Fortunately, all the soldiers were intact and no one died, except for Corporal Choi. He suffered minor injuries as a result of the explosion. After that, he discussed with other soldiers that the squad members shot very badly. However, they have done their best. Then the troops there looked confused after the explosion. Then the commander was called to his side to point out something strange. Then the strange thing was a monster. When he no longer has a head, he continues to move, and even with his head blown off. The commander saw this creature for the first time in his life. However, he had heard a lot about them from his colleagues. He understood that if the monsters attacked in a crowd, and after people would not have another chance, the commander was distracted from his thoughts because they wanted to show something again. This time what the military showed was a telephone sending a message about a surrender, as the army had suffered heavy losses, and on the other hand, now, people are having meetings taking place in the United States. Then in an onboard conference room, the president was shown the video he had just received. In the video, a city is attacked by a red dragon, and people were horrified and frightened that nothing can influence the dragon, including nuclear weapons, will be useless if used to attack them. Then the conference members started to get scared that such a creature might appear in their country. Then one of them gives up and panics. However, those who feel strongly suggest having more powerful nuclear weapons. Suddenly a portal appeared in the conference room, and there someone who looked like a hero was seen coming out of the portal. But the people who were there were shocked and amazed. How could a large golden yellow portal appear here? It is known that he has silver hair with a gold headband and glasses, and he wore a black and yellow suit. However, after that, the presidential guard who saw him immediately quickly took out a weapon from their pocket. However, the president who saw it quickly stopped the bodyguard. Then after that, the president asked the newcomer to introduce himself. Then after that, he introduced himself. He comes from a multi-dimensional space alliance and is called the Master. It is known that he came with an offer, that he can provide power that will help him in the fight against the monster. But the offer is only valid if Earthlings agree to join the Cosmic Multi-Dimensional Federation. The president accepted the offer without further thought, and this shocked them because they couldn't trust this person. But the president answered that they have no choice and no other way but to accept this person. But because he felt that everyone seemed to have agreed, he suddenly took out a yellow box and let out a light from the box. While holding the object, he now said that from now on, he would start the game. Then after that, an event occurred 28 years ago on the first day when the gate opened and brought humanity to the brink of destruction. But they can make a deal with someone who is a member of a multi-dimensional federation organization around the world. It is known that their superhuman abilities are called a race of human hunters who have united to fight monsters. After 10 years of fierce fighting, people managed to regain some of their cities, and the one who gave me the ability to fight again. After giving up the power of having just joined the Federation, they were given 30 years probation. Then after that, Lee Han-yol. A simple porter is shown a fight between humans and monsters. The monster was a large white color similar to a lizard. The girl created a ball of fire with her hands and attacked the creature. The man in the hat decides to carry out a powerful attack alone, but he couldn't hurt him. Silver-scaled lizards have proven to be quite fireproof. Since the attack was unsuccessful, the question arises of what to do now. Hunters need time to recover. So they had to call Porter, it seems. Then to the porters, that the hunters they fought together were not pros. But after that, the monster suddenly started to get bigger. They gave the order to retreat. Monsters prepare to attack soldiers using force shield. The reporter had an idea to escape from the battlefield. However, the manager decided to continue the furious attack. Then he told the coolies that they should help the hunters. The man in the hat tried his powerful attack again. This time he was right on target. The monster goes berserk as a heavy blow from the hunter is followed by a shot from Kim. But Kim had to run away because the monster was moving right towards him. But he stumbled. The monster chased him. Kim promises to help. No one reacts, no one cares about her. It was believed that for them to die on the battlefield was an honor. Lee Han-yeol is Kim's friend. In trouble, he decides to save him. Lee Han-yeol tried to remember where the lizard's weak point was. Then after that, Kim kept asking for his help and still didn't understand the link's location, and he shot randomly. CP3. However, Lee Han-yeol managed to divert attention, and now Lee Han-yeol is the target. But he wasn't an awakener, so he didn't have the power to fight back. One of the hunters still offered to help, but his offer was rejected by other hunters. Lee Han-yeol had to escape. The ammunition does not contain mana. Mana is an important component of such attacks. Lee Han-yeol decided to use another method. The choice fell on the power line. If it gets into those power lines, then it will break off and fall on the lizard. But there's only one chance. At first glance, Lee Han-yeol managed to do this. But strong dust rises. It's not clear who caused this. Then a girl is seen waking up wearing the same headband as the man who offered humanity a deal. 30 years ago. He said that time has passed very quickly and you need to move forward little by little. Connell wakes up. He faints when the lizard hits him with its tail. But he found it next to him, helping him neutralize the attack. Lee Han-yeol reasoned hard, but suddenly received an answer. At first, he thought he was crazy because the voice appeared in his head. The voice told him that even if Lee Han-yeol was shocked, he should not forget about the monster. The monster still didn't pay attention to Lee Han-yeol, but its power level far exceeded Lee Han-yeol's power level. The problem of finding a porter became a matter of time. Lee Han-yeol decided to listen to the voice. The voice decided to give Lee Han-yeol special skills. The voice decided to choose a dagger that was located not far from Lee Han-yeol. The temporary reward turns out to be a penetrating knife. Lee Han-yeol started to glow blue in his hand. Then after that, the skill information panel is displayed. His skill is an M-size stabbing knife. The effect is instant death with a high probability of piercing the opponent's lethal area. Duration of 45 seconds. Lee Han-yeol was shocked by all this, but he still started to attack. Lee Han-yeol ran to the lizard. There were still 30 seconds left. He jumped ready to attack. There were still 20 seconds left. He had 15 seconds left. The moment he started attacking at the weak point, the penetrating knife was successful. The silver-scaled lizard died instantly. Lee Han-yeol sat down with relief. The voice said that killing the monster could be considered completing the tutorial. Lee Han-yeol didn't understand what was happening. The voice decided to introduce himself. The voice turned out to be the same girl who showed us her phone number 1788957. And he is now Hannah's ego. His current taxi driver's name is Lee Han-yeol, also a hunter. 28 years ago, when the monster attacked through the portal, he freely uses energy called mana. Lee Han's extraordinary mana power resulted in him becoming one of them. However, he is not at all happy about this news, but can't believe what is happening. Lee Han-yeol believes that this whole situation is not in line with the manager's common sense, and his group finds a newly minted hunter. They were shocked when they saw that the monster had killed the hunter it hated, whose name we don't know, roughly pushed Lee Han-yeol. When he decided to approach the corpse, he couldn't believe that Porter used to kill the monster with a knife. Then the other hunters believed that Lee Han-yeol only finished off the creature and they did the main job. The rugged hunter in the hat asks Lee Han-yeol if he has a claim. Lee Han-yeol replies that he has no complaints while smiling sweetly. Lee thinks that the hunters are trash. He considers himself stupid for expecting help from them. They use the person as bait, and the porter has to fight alone with a strong enemy. A manager who understands what Lee Han-yeol is thinking. He said this is not the first time hunters have done this. At this time, Cavis poked his finger at the manager's cheek, which confused Lee Han-yeol, to which the manager noticed a strange reaction. Lee Han-yeol asked if everything was okay with him. Lee Han-yeol refused, saying that he was just holding his stomach. However, no one saw a copy. Except Lee Han-yeol was praised because his job of killing the monster itself was quite difficult. Even the manager joked that now he would wake up. Lee Han Yol, of course, laughs it off, saying that this is impossible. The manager said it was time to go back to work. Lee Han Yol realized that he had woken up. The manager called a car to the scene, shouting to decide that if you tell everything now, then nothing good will come from it. So he kept everything secret. Military vehicles with bodies arrived for the fighters. Lee Han Yol handed over the canvas suitcase and asked Lee Han Yol, what kind of suitcase did they give him? In the suitcase was the equipment of the executioner. With it the monster material was cut and then transported. The girl was confused by this job, which turned out to be a standard task for a porter. It was for this reason that the hunters brought the porter with them, because monster materials could be sold at high prices. Copies now understood the meaning of the job. Because there were only 2 workers, Lee Han Yol and manager Lee suggested dividing the monster into 2 parts. They divided it with a special saw. However, the manager's chainsaw became unusable soon after starting the job. Lee Han Yol understands that the job ahead is difficult. Because he was the only porter who had the necessary tools, Lee Han Yol decided to do all the main work himself, and the manager will take care of the rest. Kavis vomits from all this, and then Lee Han Yol passes out after finishing the job. However, suddenly the plate that previously demonstrated his knife skills appeared again. This time it was said that the lizard monster was completely defeated, and Lee Han Yol was given rank A. The girl explained that he gave her better executioner skills. Her words reflected on the tablet. After passing, everyone was praised and given a salary of 500,001. Now Lee Han Yol has 500,463 won in his account, because the hunters coped with the task faster than planned. Everyone was released. The hunters discuss what they will eat for dinner. Han is upset that he wasn't paid the extra 500,001 because he works a full shift. Lee Han Yol transfers today's income to a certain person. It turns out he is covering his father's hospital expenses. A manager asks Lee Han Yol why the other family members don't help Lee Han. Yol explains that his mother and younger sister have been away from the family for a long time. The manager apologizes for his question, but Lee Han Yol says that everything is fine. He is most worried about his father's health. The manager made a strange expression on his face. He says he always knew Lee Han Yol was a good person. However, Lee Han Yol just denied it. The manager says that he can call Uncle Tai-Su for screaming not having a car. Tai-Su offers to give him a ride. Upon arrival, Lee Han Yol concluded that the manager was a good person. But it's too annoying because we finished early today. Lee Han Yol had time to go to the evening shift at the factory. He had 4 hours of free time. He felt that he had forgotten something, that something turned out to be a copy. Yet he ended up behind it, which was very scary. Lee Han Yol didn't understand where Kavis was the whole time. How did he end up next to him? If he doesn't drive by car, Bai says. He can be considered part of Lee Han Yol himself on the site, also a child with a girl whose mother calls Lee Han Yol a strange man. Mother asks her daughter not to see it. Then after that, Lee Han Yol was sitting with the girl, and he declares that he is now one with her as an awakener. And it cannot be separated. And Kavis will not leave him. He now serves as her assistant. And Lee Han Yol generally stops understanding anything, making a surprised face, which in turn surprises the girl. He asks if there is anything that suits him. Lee Han Yol shouts, of course, about this. He explained. This is to say that Kavis first appeared out of nowhere, which scared Lee Han Yol, and also the people around him thought of him as a crazy person, because they thought he was talking to himself. But he asked, did he understand how he felt about himself when he fell dramatically on the Kavis bench? Was it Lee Han Yol's fault? But Lee Han Yol just thought that his personal life was now gone, and indicative tears appeared in his eyes. He said goodbye to his happy time. The girl folds her hands and asks what he means by happy time. Lee Han Yol did not do it and said all this out loud. Then he asked him whether he could read her mind. The answer turned out to be an ominous positive. Lee Han Yol et al. He asked him not to do this, to which he did not answer. Then after that, he invited Lee Han Yol to test his abilities. Nevertheless, he made no mistake. Face advises against it. Girl again ignores Lee Han Yol, asking her to say the word country to start. After that, the blue bar reappears showing the status. Lee Han Yol and several names of Lee Han Yol's data. Level 1. Points 5. Strength 28. Constitution 34, Agility 29, Magic 10, Luck 10. Skills copy defense and executioner skills. Lee Han-yeol pointed out that the panel was like an acquisition window, whose copy agreed with Kobe, saying that his 5 points were divided into strength, constitution, magic, dexterity, and luck. He asked him, does he need to clarify what these criteria mean? Lee Han-yeol said that he wanted to ask the girl for a copy of something, making an interested face and asking to ask a question. The question is why her name is included in her skill copy, saying that this skill is because the girl herself is special. At the same time as he got up with a cocky pose, Lee Han-yeol made a disbelieving face, putting his hands in his pockets, asked, does he think of himself? Kobe said that he was special, and asked if Lee Han-yeol felt a special connection between the game window and the battle. Lee Han-yeol decided that the Kavis were right, since the revival appeared 28 years ago, but no one knew how they appeared. He further provides examples of forces that can emerge on the battlefield. While studying at school with a child from birth, because powers appear randomly, scientists have not been able to find out the reason for their origin. According to the data, hunters have 3 abilities shown as shield sword, and the swordsmanship is shared by a hunter in a hat, a shooting companion by his companion, and a protective companion in uniform. The 3 are on the battlefield, with Lee Han-yeol, a hunter, being either in the circle of capturing monsters or in the circle of dressing those who make new weapons. Lee Han-yeol only has 2 skills so far, the latter of which appeared after awakening. Lee Han-yeol asks if he is a unique hunter. Then the girl approached Lee Han-yeol. A smile appeared on her lips. He said that he quickly caught everything, that Lee Han-yeol again couldn't believe what was happening in his country. Unique hunters are called Thunderbeans. They are true masters of their craft, and one of them is called Yen-heen, a tall girl in a brown robe. Lee Han-yeol concluded that all the skills he received he obtained thanks to Kavis, but he doesn't understand how it works. Kavis starts his explanation with an example. If the other hunters get home during the awakening, then Lee only gets bricks, but depending on his actions, the bricks don't just become houses, but the entire castle. Lee Han-yeol did not understand the meaning of the metaphor. Kavis decided to explain differently, and he was tired enough. All the skills that Lee pumped and all the available skills that he received thanks to him, Lee Han-yeol was once again shocked by what happened. We were shown the factory livestock depot, where Lee Han-yeol works. He was greeted by a man in uniform, who said that the man had arrived early. Lee Han-yeol explained that he finished his first job quite quickly. Explains that it was all thanks to the connections of the boss that Lee Han-yeol wanted to talk to personally. Lee Han-yeol changed into a uniform. The man says that the boss knows nothing but has good connections. The man looks at the moment and says it's time to go. But Lee Han-yeol said goodbye and said that they will meet on the phone. Lee Han-yeol asks Han Yu-bi if she wants to leave everything as it is, to which he answers using the adage, it is better to see it once than hear 100 times. He said that you need to continue the porter work. Lee Han-yeol became confused again because he was surprised by the fact that the girl knew such a proverb. Lee Han-yeol said he had done a lot of work in his 3 years as a porter, but he was interrupted by a voice calling his name. Lee Han-yeol recognized this voice. It turns out this burly man wearing a jacket and helmet turns out to be the boss of the pig beggars. The boss takes Lee to work, if you want to get real money. On his first day of work, Lee spilled coffee on his boss, so now he was constantly finding fault with her, even though the boss deliberately pushed Lee Han-yeol. But Lee Han-yeol took a knife to slaughter the monster, but this creature had a strange blow to the neck. Then after that, he saw glowing lines on all the monsters. Lee Han-yeol decides that the work still needs to be continued, but the line arrangement looks familiar to him. It turns out this is the line he usually cuts. Lee Han-yeol assumed that this was because of the executioner's skill. Lee Han-yeol decided to ask Kavis, but he didn't answer him. His colleague thought that Lee was talking to him, but he refused. Kavis finally decided to show himself. Lee Han-yeol was again wondering why that girl always appeared. Then the girl was standing in a nightgown with a pillow in her hand. Lee Han-yeol was surprised that he needed to sleep too. The girl understood that Lee Han-yeol wanted to ask about the sentence she explained. Then with a smile on his face, it helped him do his job. Lee Han-yeol opened his mouth and understood the reason information about the girl being seen by other workers. but they relate it to the facts. That she was having trouble, the girl offered a shout to start her work, and then he will understand everything he understands himself so that his work will be done very quickly. Copying again becomes a pain. Because he saw slaughtering a corpse, Lee was surprised at how quickly he finished his work. It usually takes at least 3 hours to complete the job. However, now he completes everything in one. If he continues to work, he will complete 8 hours a day in 3 skills. It turned out to be very useful to use. Unexpectedly, he found a purple magic stone in the monster's body. This stone is usually carried with you because it costs 1,000,001. He threw the stone into the box labeled lower grade stone. Lee Han. Yol felt that his knife was cutting faster and faster. He started cutting, speculating that this was an increase in his mind. Reading Kavis' skill said that repeating the skill increased it. A sign appeared where it said sword skill was upgraded to level F. It surprised Lee Han Yol that he received these skills. Then, 2 hours into his shift, Lee Han Yol started cleaning his workspace. Another worker notices this and asks Lee Han Yol if he has given up. The man started to scold Elijah. The boss already considered him an unlucky employee. So he also wanted to leave work early to show everyone how difficult it was for him, claimed Lee Han Yol. He had fulfilled his quota. The man wondered how he could do everything so quickly. Lee Han Yol replies that he just got the gist of how to do a better job. Lee Han Yol realized that now was not the time to talk about how he had awakened the man in disbelief. Said the man, and decided to check the operation. A device that shows the percentage of work completed. Lee Han Yol decides to leave the workplace immediately. He was treated normally. As long as he controls mana, the man wants to learn the secret of fast work from Lee Han Yol. Lee Han Yol understood that doing his job in 2.5 hours was a bit suspicious. Next time he would have better control over his power. In the corridor, Lee Han Yol meets the boss, who calls the man to him. Lee Han Yol didn't like everything, but he understood that he needed to be patient. So he just asked the boss what happened. The boss doesn't like this question because he doesn't like that Lee Han Yol just walks around during work hours. Lee Han Yol replied that he had done all the work that the boss wanted. At first he said that he thought so, but his statement was interrupted by a surprised exclamation. Lee Han Yol made a sweet smile and said that the deer was cut into 80 pieces. Then after that, with the same expression on his face, Lee Han Yol placed his card into the machine, announcing that Lee Han Yol had finished completely. And this daily quota made the boss very surprised. Even an experienced butcher won't do it. Lee Han Yol quickly decided to immediately go again and see the albatross. At the place where the albatross was kept, there were other workers who also decided to look at the albatross monster. Looks like a blue pterodactyl. We were shown the road to L's small house. Finally at home, he immediately jumped into bed. He thinks because he is now awake, then he can't work in the factory. Also at this time, he receives a message from the man in which they demand a refund. However, he still had to work in the factory. Lee Han Yol had already paid the money today, so he decided to throw away the phone. Before going to bed, Lee Han Yol decided to take a shower first. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The unexpected guest was a girl who approached Lee Han Yol for making a fuss late at night. Lee Han Yol didn't know if it was his neighbor. The current girl defines herself as a high school student who has an exam, and if she fails, will he help her? Then after that, the girl told Lee Han Yol to be careful. However, he said that today's children are rather strong. Lee Han Yol apologized to the girl. Before leaving, said that in this case, he warned Lee Han Yol. He believes that today's teenagers are still too young. Then after that, he decided to go to bed earlier than usual. This evening, the neighbor came home. Falls at the table. He was overtaken by the excitement of entering the university. But after that, where were the cockroaches seen? It's midnight. But Lee Han Yol still couldn't sleep, probably because a lot had happened in the last day. Apart from that, many interesting things emerged. Lee Han Yol decided to ask Kavis. Kavis is bored with Lee Han Yol, who always asks questions. So far, Lee Han Yol is not afraid of the unexpected appearance of Kavis because he's used to it. However, after that, the girl leaned her head back on L's bed and asked what she needed from her. She said that she knew that every hunter had mana that could be used. Can Lee Han Yol also use it? Kavis says that he will talk to him about this later, as the hunter does not have enough mana. Nowadays, it's quite difficult to explain the work of magic in words, so Kavis invites Lee Han-yol to find out for himself. Lee Han-yol is not ready for reality. That this has to be handled now, first you have to close your eyes and place your hand on your heart. The type of mana depends on the type of spiritual power. Therefore, if you concentrate enough, you can use Aya's power. After the necessary actions are performed, you need to concentrate on your spiritual world and imagine that a person is a tree trunk. Lee Han-yol made a surprised face. He asked again about the tree, which again made him smile sweetly and confirmed his words. Next, you need to imagine that the nutrition of the roots of Buru Lee is still doubtful about the method proposed by Kavis. But suddenly she managed a small blue ball appeared in her hand. The size of the ball was smaller than the girl expected. It couldn't be used because it was too small, but the number can be increased either by training or by adding points. Lee Han-yol decided that tonight he would shine in training unexpectedly. The neighbor came back again and again with the plane. The man apologized while rubbing his neck with his hand they showed us the next day. But after the shift, at the factory, Lee Han-yol went to work early and finished early. The boss watched coming home from work all the time. But when he quickly finished his work, the boss had a very stunned face. Lee again ran away from work so as not to answer the question. Lee cooked custard noodles for lunch, hoping he would go to the canteen. During lunch, Lee Han-yol trains his strength. It turns out the stove still doesn't work for him, which the hostess can't fix. A man won't live long. However, there is nothing that can be done on a broken cell phone. Lee watches a baseball game. Game 7 is over. The ball is thrown by Lee Han-yol, a man with a hot shot. Style Conrus is worried. If the ball hits someone's head, it will cause a lot of injuries. Chung scored an attack at this time. Lee Han-yol had an idea. Hunters can give mana to the item. And whether he can do it, Kavis again has to answer the question, can we do this too? Of course he can also do this. But not at this level. If mana is put into solid matter, it will become stronger. Lee Han-yol decides that he needs to eat all the food at once. After all, the mechanism works the same. Now the plot takes place at night. Lee was wearing sportswear and Kavis standing nearby, and didn't understand what he was going to do. Lee Han-yol put a can of cola in front of him. In high school he played baseball, now he wants to try again, but this time with the help of mana. Lee Han-yol endowed the rock with the power he created. Throws and hits on target. Rocks pierce tin cans. Lee Han-yol is now proud of himself. But there was still gunpowder in the flask. The copy wasn't too impressed with his skills. Lee Han-yol continued his hard training, already knocking down around 10 cans and making Lee Han-yol sweat quite a lot on his body. Then after that, Kobe suggested that he take a break. But Lee planned to keep training, but a full hour had passed, and if you overdo it with training, then there might be bad consequences. Lee Han-yol still had no plans to stop, and the copy had a look of disbelief on his face. He throws again, hits again. Mana usage increases. Now the skill of destroying blows is formed. The hunter in the hat also uses Ultimate Con. This prompts the copy to tell about this skill. An explanation of the skill is displayed on the blue screen. It delivers a powerful blow by concentrating mana in the physical plane. Lee Han-yol realized that he acquires skills under certain conditions or by repeating actions, so he decided to practice a lot. Lee Han-yol took the stone again, planning to practice further, but fainted from exhaustion. He still woke up in the night, and Kavis was sitting on a nearby bench. He didn't understand what happened to him, so Kavis again has to explain everything. As a result, he just shouted at her while warning her of the consequences. It turned out he had been out for an hour. With that, he decided to end it and go home. On his way home, Lee Han-yol passed a notice board. Throughout the last day, Lee Han-yol felt cold. Although maybe this is a mistake. Now he heard a strange sound coming from the gate. He saw 2 men threatening a neighbor girl with knives. They asked him to shut up and keep his mouth shut. If he doesn't want retaliation, Lee Han-yol always avoids such situations, and the idea of calling the police he thinks is the best. But first he decided to see what happened. The girl was already tied to the girl. Lee recognized his neighbor, a high school student. What to do now? He decided to take a chance and help a neighbor, secretly asking for help. He was so scared tears flowed from his eyes. They wanted to put him in a car and take him away. Lee used a new technique. He attacks the hooligans with stones. One of the bandits is knocked out. Lee goes to them and asks to let the girl go. The second one took out a knife and started threatening Lee Han-yeol as they tried to intimidate him. However, Lee Han-yeol was suspicious of such an outcome. He was not confident in his abilities. But he needed to try now. Al used the chain as a weapon. He managed to intercept his direct attack with a knife. In a way, he copied the receipts from the internet. Even though he wasn't sure of his abilities, that might be the case with awakening. Physical strength also increases. If this is true, then you can try a successful blow. The second bandit also fainted. Lee Han-yeol freed the female student by holding out his hand. Then the girl threw herself into Lee Han-yeol's arms because she was so scared and he had just saved her. He hugged her tightly in return, assuring her with words that everything was over. Then after that, the clock showed that it was past 12 at night. Lee Han-yeol and the victim were sitting at the police station, where they testified the girl's name was Han Yu-bi. The police clarified the accuracy of his testimony. The people in the cage threatened you, and Han accidentally passed by and beat them alone. The police asked the man if he was woken up by the case. Lee Han-yeol simply denied that he had just been exercising for a long time. After leaving the police station, Lee Han-yeol felt tired. The police asked many strange questions. Lee Han-yeol is already calmly going home. When he caught up, he hugged you from behind. He is called what in Korea is symbolized as the older one. This respected brother or idol surprised him greatly, but the girl looked at him with a funny look and asked if he wanted to leave her alone. Lee Han-yeol noticed that the girl was feeling pretty good. He agrees to take her home. He noticed it himself, that despite the fact that he himself only knew her name, he seems to be a pleasant person. You grabbed it with visibly shaking hands. But apparently he was still worried about what happened. They went home without any problems. Even though what happened is positive, she is a very strong girl. Now he could finally rest. Suddenly something fell out of his pocket. This something turned out to be a note with a number and signature. Call me. If you are bored, also thank you for safety. Lee Han-yeol lying on his bed without undressing. Han Yu-bi is a beautiful name. But it's also funny, and at the same time Lee Han-yeol imagines a painting which is a reference to the Chinese commander. Lee Han-yeol asked Han Yu-bi to show his condition. The panel that appears displays points 10 level 2 strength 28, physique 34, dexterity 29, magic 10, luck 10, skillless, Kavis defense executioner swordmaster. Mana mandatory blow destruction control level has increased, which pleases Lee Han-yeol, but he doesn't understand where the compulsion skill comes from. By the way, tomorrow is a holiday at the factory, so Lee Han-yeol had the idea to go there. But the next morning, he came to the gym. There he meets his friend, who is interested in the state of life of the man they embrace, which once again proves friendliness. Then a friend turned out they met a few months later. However, the man thought that Lee Han-yeol died during one of his assignments. Lee Han-yeol denies that there have been many problems lately. But now Lee Han-yeol wants to start training at the gym again. The man asked how the young man was. Lee was going to visit him in the hospital when he was picking up sick. The man asked to say hello, to which Lee happily agreed. The man turned out to be the manager who was called to him by another employee. Lee considered him a good person because he allowed the use of gym for free and taught Lee how to play baseball. As a child, you will need a manager with cleaning in the hall. Lee started his training with jump rope. He went back to training until the end, which gave Lee the opportunity to receive physical strength skills. However, this will take 2.5 hours. Now you can start cleaning. Lee arrived at the hospital. Seoul National University, and up to the 6th floor. A young girl sitting at the front desk, who immediately recognized Lee Han-yeol's question about her father's condition, had not been answered. He was submitting documents for receipt of approval documents for admission to intensive care. Lee Han-yeol was not surprised that his father's condition was in such an unclear position, but he thanked his sister for taking care of the elder. It turns out that all the other doctors have abandoned Lee Han-yeol's father. He was pointed in the right direction. But at that moment, a message arrived on Lee Han-yeol's phone, apologizing and checking the notification again. The reply message was long. But Lee has sent a number of hospital workers asking what happened. But I, with my usual attitude, refused to answer that everything was fine. Lee decided to ignore my father's messages in intensive care ward number 603. He was connected to a ventilator. Kim asked the nurse how many hours her father slept. Lately, he answered that starting this week around 14 o'clock. Kim realized that she didn't have much time left. The nurse didn't understand what these words meant. Kim explained that every day the number of hours spent sleeping will increase immediately. After 24 hours, the father could no longer open his eyes. Then it was discovered that one day, 4 years ago, since Lee Han-yol's father, Lee Chun-sam, fell unconscious. Doctors did not know either the cause of the disease or how to treat it. They just assume it is a type of cancer. So far, neither anti-cancer treatment nor clinical treatment has been tried, but this only improved while Jun-sam's father's condition started to open his eyes, but now he sleeps more. After spending some time with his father, Lee Han-yol decided to leave. However, the nurse is surprised by his early departure, since Lee Han-yol hasn't visited his father for a long time. Lee Han-yol believes that if the father finds out about his son's visit at such a time, he will decide that he is causing unnecessary trouble. Besides, the presence of the son next to the father will not help the treatment. The nurse is surprised by this reaction. She asks if Lee knows how to heal with magic. Lee Han-yol has never heard of such a method. The girl explained to him that this was a new way done by the awakened ones with the gift of healing, of course. This method is problematic from a financial perspective. Lee Han-yol doesn't let the nurse finish, because he wanted to find a way to cure his own father. He thanked the girl for her care. He didn't want to give personal problems to the girl. And because he had been taking care of his father for 4 years, the nurse tried to answer something, but he didn't succeed. Lee Han-yol told the girl that everything would be fine. While already at home, Lee realized that he told this girl in vain how he planned to find a cure. Even if the doctors don't know what to do, Lee Han-yol decides to start by looking for a method of healing him with magic. Tried turning on an old computer that still wouldn't turn on. Then Lee Han-yol kicks the computer and gets angry because nothing works. The computer is assisted by physical actions towards it. Turns out Lee found information on the internet about a new treatment he again testified to copying. This time he was happy to answer questions. He asked if he could master the skill of curing illnesses. He's not certain, but if the skill understanding meets the conditions, then maybe the copy noticed the cockroach and couldn't understand that it was so small. Here Lee was happy with the answer. However, even if he has sufficient understanding of the skills and he masters the necessary skills, then a higher level is required. Lee Han-yol decided to start increasing his level. He copied Giggles Porter's Paradise in the background, trying to kill the bug of the week. All the spots for Porter were already taken. He decided to call a friend to see if there was any work for him scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Cavis almost killed the insect, but suddenly several more cockroaches crawled out. Lee Han-yol breathed a sigh of relief. Lee Han-yol saw that the Cavis was sitting near the door, scared of the fact that the insects decided to attack him with their entire crowd. Early in the morning, while Lee was still sleeping, someone rang the doorbell. Lee opened the door but found no one. He blamed everything on the children's tricks. Suddenly he saw the banana milk, and the note on the note you bought again thanked Han for saving him. Then after that, he called him Appa. Lee Han-yol enjoys banana milk. However, the girl was seen standing behind the wall and smiling shyly. Lee Han-yol stood on the street waiting for them to come for him. Then after that, the manager came for him. But Lee Han-yol apologized for calling so suddenly. Then with a request, the man refused and called to get into the car as soon as possible and get down to their business. Then after that, arrived at the Seoul government office. Then after that, they decided to separate. Then after that, the man followed the machine to transport the materials. Lee Han-yol came to the Porter Service Department. There the girl clarified that the men in front of her were Lee Han-yol, Choi Chung-hong, and Kim Han, who left for today's mission. Then after that, at 7 a.m., and the three of them confirmed the information. First you have to pass identification. They were given the necessary equipment, a light machine gun, 2 boxes of cartridges, 4 frames, a backpack, and a personal chainsaw, since the men had been doing this work for more than a year. Workers decide not to repeat safety rules. Then the girl told Lee Han-yol that she didn't know what happened on the last shift, but now the equipment is broken. This caused a lot of trouble for the workers. Lee Han-yol made the girl's guilty face put on a scary smile. He asks this time not to break anything. However, Lee Han-yol's safety is still considered the most important, so he asks for a safe return. And the sound of Porter and Bay was carried to Kangwon-do Place, located near the demilitarized zone. Then, this place looks like a green field surrounded by forests and mountains. The hunt has begun. However, communication began to disappear, which meant the field was near. Although perhaps it was for the best, they decided to stop. The manager said that today's enemy is a dog the size of a calf, but after that, they are malignant and motor nerves develop. They attack in pairs or threes, so be careful. The manager said that when the porters attract the attention of the dogs, they must be handed over by the hunters. However, Lee Han-yol was not happy with the fact that he was just bait. But he also recognized the oratorical qualities of the manager. For the manager, this task seemed easy, because he had seen many monsters on the way. Lee Han-yol returns the team with the 3 hunters who were with him last time the dialogue started between the manager and the hunters in the hat. The hunter decides to ask the manager a question which causes a bad feeling, as the hunter wonders if this time will be as dangerous. Because there would be problems if any nonsense happened, the manager assured that everything would be fine, that the hunter's strength was much greater than the dog's strength. The hunter said that these words reassured him. But there's no way we really do, because he has a rather stern expression on his face. And young Gam also noticed this. From the outside, the conversation between the young Gam and the hatted hunter looks like psychological warfare. Anyway, now everything is in the open, so the manager lets off fireworks. The dog reacts to it, which starts running towards the source of the sound. The manager gives the order for him to shoot. Lee Han-yol opened fire, and behind them on command were the hunters. The hated hunter attacked one of the dogs with a crushing blow. The other creature would have attacked him. But already from behind, the hunter was not surprised and repulsed. The dog's tackle turned out to be quite fast, which made everyone suspect that the hunter girl did not even have time to create a magic bomb to attack. He now doesn't know what to do with the projectile. He was offered to just throw it away, but he couldn't. Because it had destructive power, the manager still seemed suspicious of what was happening. Lee Han-yol noticed this and asked himself, and what happened? However, he immediately explained that it bothered him that the dog didn't use the force. While attacking, he suspected that someone was interfering in their duel. Lee Han-yol was afraid he would be declassified therefore, so as not to turn himself in. However, he only supports theory. It seemed like the manager wasn't going to think any further about the situation, but just happy with how everything turned out. Lee Han-yol was called to help Lee Han-yol with his work, and he was glad that no one seemed to suspect him. But we are shown the action that happened 20 minutes ago. When there was a psychological war between the hunter and the manager, Lee Han-yol was called to his place to inspect and distribute the store. After checking, Lee Han-yol found no problems. But a thought came to his mind. And what if we give mana to him to increase his firepower? But they won't just help with tasks, but also provides experience points when endowing cartridges with mana the manager approaches them with. He asked what Han did to Lee. He says he just checked the ammo magazine. The manager didn't see anything and asks to get the job done faster. Turns out now all the porters' guns are loaded with Lee Han-yol bullets, and this action raised him to the level of 3 porters, and the hunters started their next job with Corpse Hannah already working on the 3rd, trying to keep up with the hunters. He was told that it was impossible to work at the agreed speed. Lee Han-yol didn't expect that because the work would be done faster. The hunters would also deal with corpses. Hunters with strength are hard enough to keep up with. At this rate, they won't last long, and Lee Han-yol will definitely go crazy. But there was an offer to take a break, where Lee Han-yol is very happy that the other porters are already quite tired, and the hunters, at least the hunter's girlfriend, is discussing options for going somewhere. However, Lee Han-yol was embarrassed in front of other porters. But he has leveled up to level 4. Lee Han-yol asked Han Yu-bi to show his status data. He already had 20 points and decided his strength had increased. He didn't know what he would do with his points yet. Plus, he will not be able to return what was spent. Then there is a dead dog and Lee Han-yol is trying to deal with it. But the captain asked Lee Han-yol how much was left. However, Lee Han-yol said that he had just started. Besides dogs, those dogs are hard to kill even with mana bullets. but now he knew who was stronger and who was weaker. The Prius manager said that a veteran like him already had enough experience to match the hunter's mana amount. And monsters properly, Lee Han-yeol doesn't really understand what matching is. However, he said, that Lee Han-yeol should be aware that before recruiting mana hunters they were measured. Lee said he knew about the procedures the manager said. That knows quite a lot that Hans thinks he just found out about it. The manager calls him a teapot. The manager says that his job is to balance the power, and if the hunter's mana amount exceeds the monster's average mana amount, then you can join the battle. But if you have to face monsters of different levels, then everything depends on the experience of the hunter manager holding a strange object in his hand, which is a manometer. Lee Han-yeol wondered if this thing was like a radar that picked up mana responses from monsters. However, the manager says that's how it is, but the device has run out. The cost of equipping the device with mana is quite expensive. Lee offers to help, as he does so much for him. He decided to use his mana to charge this help. But raising obvious questions for the manager, Lee simply refused, saying that the technique had failed the device, showing that there were more creatures a kilometer away. The manager decides that he needs to move on to the next hunt. Lee has an idea to make his eyes a radar. He decides to ask him about it. He says that it is possible to endow body parts with magic if they are strong enough, but he didn't know about his eyes if he did something wrong. Then there is a possibility that his eyes will explode. However, it seems he succeeded in imbuing his eyes with mana. Kavis asks about his well-being, to which Lee replies that he is in a lot of pain. Kavis scolds him for his arbitrariness, but he keeps rubbing his eyes and says that if you don't try, you won't know. Kviku asks him not to rub his eyes and let the tears flow. Mana flows from his eyes, and his vision starts to return. He doesn't do stupid things anymore. Lee Han-yeol gets new skills, understanding the use of mana. New effects have appeared, and when endowing the eyes with mana, you can control the flow density and amount of mana. This really surprised Lee Han-yeol. Then after the business day ends, the manager thanked everyone for the work done, paid 500,000 won for the day, even though the entire group plowed twice as much. The man was very dissatisfied with this, but he quickly irritated her. He says that's how it works. But the man accused the manager of siding with the poachers. He decided not to work on this team anymore. Then Lee Han-yeol blamed himself for everything. Because he has speeded up the work process, he is happy that he can improve his skills. Although not to a sufficient level, his goal is to continue working on himself. After work, Lee Han-yeol went to the hospital to consult a doctor about his father there. He was again told that the current level of medicine was not enough to heal their strength, only to maintain the vital activity of the body. Lee Han-yeol heard the same thing for the 100th time. But after that, the doctor offered Lee Han-yeol that since he came to visit his father, who was now awake. Then the father sat on the bed with his hands on his knees. He was wearing a hospital gown and his face was unshaven. He greeted his son. The father asked his son why he had come. Lee Han-yeol wanted to tell his father that he got a job at a good company, which is a comforting lie. In fact, Lee plowed through 2 jobs, one of which was deadly. Lee Han-yeol talks about working with clients, and the father is surprised at how fast his son is growing. Lee Han-yeol doesn't like his father's worries because he has to worry about his health. However, the father said that now his son would not have such a hard time when his father died. Lee Han-yeol reacted sharply to her words by saying that he had not succeeded in giving her a happy life. But his father kept saying that he was just a useless old man and became a burden in Lee Han-yeol's life. However, at this time, from the surging emotions, Lee Han-yeol's magic was transferred to Senior Lee's magic, flowing through the blood and causing an unexpected result. Because of this, Lee was given new skills, understanding of the ability to restore vital energy. Lee asked Kavis a question, but his father overhears him, and he doesn't understand. Lee said everything was fine. The father started to fall asleep again. Lee said that if the father held on a little longer, he would see his son's face for the rest of the day, and asked him to tell him about the new skill, to which he agreed. Then happily, and displays the blue table where all the information is written. Skill effects. By transferring mana, it is possible to heal external damage and recover vitality. Lee Han-yeol wanted to see if he could cure his father with this skill. Cavis believed that one such skill would not be enough. However, it continued to progress. Then curing his father would no longer be a problem. A nurse entered the room saying that visiting time was over, while apologizing for the disturbance. Lee Han-yeol mentally asked his father to be patient a little more. Lee Han-yeol comes out of the room and bumps into a man. He apologizes, looking up and seeing that in front of him is a person he knows. With a friend, the first one was a bit tall and both had gold teeth. Then he put the nurse's grip on his letter and asked who the people in the hospital were. Really trusting him, he tried to ask again, but they didn't let him. Lee Han-yeol was taken outside where he was beaten by a tall man. While others looked at the phone, it turned out that these people were people who owed money to Lee Han-yeol, and the second person is sitting on the phone. Lee Han-yeol reads correspondence with himself. He says that getting rid of them is not easy. Lee Han-yeol replies that he transferred the money to them. They explain to Lee Han-yeol that something was the principal amount, and now they are demanding interest from him. Last month, Lee Han-yeol was shocked by this because he wasn't even told about this. They explained to him that everything was written on the receipt, but Lee Han-yeol called them scammers and clenched his fists. However, it makes no such statement. He tells Lee he has 7 days to pay the debt, or his father will face the consequences. Then they continued to beat him. His father exposed him to new dangers. Even if Lee Han-yeol can pay off his debt, then what does Lee decide? That he had to move it all like peeing with 2 fingers. He sits in front of a laptop with band-aids on his face. He decided to go through the registration procedure for the hunter position. However, the registration procedure took a lot of time that Lee Han-yeol did not have. He didn't think that by becoming a hunter, he could repay his debt. In 7 days, he just had to get excited. During the registration process, Lee Han-yeol healed his own wounds. He walked along the shop near the very dark supermarket. Outside, Lee Han-yeol wears a hoodie to hide his face. He was determined to go down, and he then started it. Then it was mentioned as the Hunters Association. It was built around hunters who were active during the Great War 28 years ago. During the World Wars, by a group of hunters active in this organization, hunters were given registration cards and licenses, and registered hunters receive various privileges. Hunters who join the organization receive permission to exterminate monsters legally. Through connections with porters, the organization is also involved in transporting monster materials in particular. This is a precious material like magic stone. Lee Han-yeol decided to buy hunting equipment from the cheap market. He had little time, so he had to hunt without a license. He heard that this was often done by hunters who wanted to avoid taxes or had no money to kill monsters illegally. It was a dangerous move, but there's nothing you can do about it. Lee gathered everything he needed for hunting except guns before bullets, and this gun was given to him by the organization. But now he can't turn to them weapons rumored to be available on the black market. But he didn't have much money. Lee Han-yeol decides to buy a bow from his grandfather while determining that it is not a fake. In addition to all this, you need to recover your strength. Grandpa said that he bought a bow for hunting, but his wife doesn't like the idea now. He sold this bow. Lee wanted to touch the onion with his hand. The drawing power of the bow is good. A bow with 2 arrows costs 150,000 won. Lee Han-yeol was shocked by the amount. He took a step back. This amount was his monthly expenses, but there was nothing he could do to buy onions. Grandfather asks to be careful with bow now. Lee Han-yeol needed to find a melee weapon. Lee Han-yeol approached the grandfather, a trader. He asks his grandfather if he sells guns. Grandpa yells at Lee Han-yeol because it's all clear Lee understands that the guns are without a license. But now it doesn't matter to him. Lee Han-yeol asked permission to touch the weapon. However, the knife appears to be in very good condition. Lee asked the old man if there was a knife that wouldn't slip in his hand, but grandfather gave him a suitable knife. Lee Han-yeol decided to buy 2 at once. Lee Han-yeol left the market. Grandpa was happy that he could sell 2 knives today. Suddenly, a man approached him. Grandpa thought it was a new customer, but it was the police they came to call, where they reported that illegal trading was taking place in the market. Then after that, the old man was asked to go to the station. Lee Han-yeol came home. All the things were collected there. Only one question remained unresolved: how not to get caught at the checkpoint. He decided to use the Google proven option. You need a car to get to the checkpoint. So he decided to rent a truck. Renting a truck turned out to be very expensive, but there is nothing you can do. You have to pay 500,000 won. Go to sleep thinking that everything is over. But there is one more thing about work in the factory. Then in a room, a boss said to Lee Han-yeol, "Is he late? And does he like to worship? Or was he deliberately late because he was bored working here?" However, Lee Han-yeol placed an envelope on the boss's desk. Then after that, the boss tore up the letter because he didn't plan to read it, and Lee Han-yeol was really scared that the boss kept getting letters that he thought were asking for help every time in such a situation. He just tore up the letter in front of the workers as it was time for them to quit, but the boss didn't care, because many workers Lee wasn't bitter, because the letter contained a letter of resignation. But after that, the boss started to get angry, asking again what Lee Han-yeol dared to say. Now Lee mocked the man and started picking his ears. He said that his ear was blocked by the boss's swing at Lee Han-yeol, but he managed to stop the blow. He said that why wave his fist if he came just to talk. The boss decided to teach the boy a lesson, and took a swipe at another freak, calling Lee a freak. For this, he threw the boss on the table. Then after that, another worker came to the noise. Dan asks Lee what he is doing and why the boss is on the floor. The boss says Lee started the fight first. Lee Han-yeol picks up his torn statement from the floor and puts it in the boss's mouth. The worker realizes that Lee Han-yeol is more dangerous than he seems. At first glance, Lee Han-yeol leaves the building pleased with himself. He thought that he wouldn't do it without a fight, but he believed that the boss deserved it. Lee Han-yeol will no longer be able to live his previous life. His main task now is to hunt monsters. Then he finds the hangman's hooks on the street and decides to take them with him. Then it was seen that the neighbor left food at Lee Han-yeol's door. Lee removes all the plaster from his face, because everything is healed. On the road, he was approached by a man in a rented hunting truck and asked to show his ID. Lee Han-yeol was given the car keys, and he was told that if the rental time exceeded 24 hours, then you have to pay the extra. That Lee Han-yeol got into the truck and go hunting. He went to a checkpoint where he was asked to show his documents. Lee Han-yeol said that he was from the advanced group, and another detachment had the documents, so that the next car will show the documents. Guard says it is against the rules. However, his boss told him to let the porter pass, as there were many cars piled up in a queue that should not be delayed. Then Lee Han-yeol made a good decision to come at this hour. At the corporal booth, guard asked, and the question is whether it is possible to let someone pass without documents. Then Corporal Choi said he hoped nothing bad would happen. He asked if she had any experience letting someone pass without the documents. The guard said that he has never done this before. The corporal explains that even if they are cheated, it doesn't matter. And after that, because going hunting alone is suicide. Corporal Choi starts his shift, and a regular guard asked him, "Is it suicide if the porter goes alone into the forest?" But for Corporal Choi, this is not a problem, because they guard the battlefield. Where the gate is still open, no external communication device is available. And it's dangerous to go to this place, even for one hunter.